All right. What is going on, everybody? I think we are finally live. It's Friday, and that means the Xbox 2 podcast is here. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million. And we have with me, obviously, as always, the man who is trying to fight off spiders and ladybugs, and he's currently playing right now, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, Jez? How you been? How's Grounded treating you? What's going on?
Oh man, what a week! It's been a busy week again in Microsoft land. I feel like we barely have time to cover any of the games now. Microsoft's just putting out so much news and so many games. It's like we don't have the biggest team in the world. We're not IGN, so it's like, and obviously we focus on Microsoft because we're a Microsoft news website. So we literally have no bandwidth to cover any other game. Like every day, Microsoft's like, oh, by the way, here's an update for State of Decay. Oh, by the way, here's a massive patch for Sea of Thieves. Oh, by the way, Grounded is 1 million players. Oh, by the way, here's a Microsoft Flight Simulator pre-orders now live. It's just crazy. It's like, can you stop? Can you stop? Doing this?
Isn't that what you want, though? Don't you want constant articles to, get up that search traffic and people talking about the Xbox platform? Isn't that Windows Central really wants, though, Jez?
Well, it's what my boss wants. I mean,
well, it's not what you want, because you just want to play Grounded.
I just want to play games and chill. But yeah, it's fun times. It's exciting in Microsoft land right now. Have you been? How's your back doing? Last week you were Randall crippled. And,
that was I think 2 weeks ago where, it hurt really bad. No, it's doing a lot better. Still get some like minor, twinges here and there, but for most part, it's like, just kind of back to normal. So, I appreciate everybody who messaged me about it. Diet's going real good. Lost, quite a good amount of weight so far. That's what happens when you only have 2 eggs for breakfast and a half a chicken breast, some rice and some broccoli for lunch, and then a steak and rice and broccoli for dinner, and that's literally it. That's all I eat.
Also eating rice and chicken but sweet corn instead of broccoli. I can't be doing broccoli, man.
Dude, I love me some broccoli. Remember, this is now the Xbox Diet Podcast or whatever you had called it, right?
Yeah, this is the Xbox Diet Podcast now.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can become the Xbox Bodybuilding Podcast and get
that'll never happen. That'll never ever happen.
You don't want to be Randall buff with huge, bulging, sexy muscles, and then everyone's like, "Rand, please send nudes and stuff."
No. Yeah, in my dreams. Yeah, in my dreams. Anyways, we appreciate everyone being here. See Cryptopsy and Wolf of Darkness, Mr. Colt Eastwood, who put out a great video as all. You ever watch Colt's videos, Jazz, and just marvel at the production value that he does and the time he spends? Like, he's a guy I always look up to, because I talk to him it's no joke. I talk to Colt every single day, and I think my videos are pretty good. Actually, I think my videos aren't very good. I have a lot of room for improvement. And then I watch Colt's videos, and I'm just like, God damn. I wish I could do some of that stuff, because the things he can do with his videos is incredible. So
I make videos every now and then. Like, I did that Razor Kishi thing, and I did that. Mars did the Grounded preview. But yeah, I make videos every now and then. It's fun and stuff. But it's like I spend 20 minutes per video, and even after that, I'm exhausted. I'm like, how can anyone if I write a blog post, it takes 15 minutes. I can't imagine how long Colt spends on
Colt's videos take 6 hours. My videos, roughly 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much I feel like editing the video, because I do edit the audio quite a lot. But I appreciate everyone being here. Ravenflow, Damn God, Bronsley, Megatron, what's going on, buddy? T'Challa, I probably said that wrong, but appreciate everyone being here. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button and the bell and all that stuff. Commander Shepard says, hey, I got an email today from Microsoft saying that Halo Infinite will be coming to Game Pass. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Well, we'll definitely be talking about Halo Infinite, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that dropped today. 343 talking about, the reaction to the visuals, the stuff that dropped last night about the game being free to play. I wonder where you might have heard that the multiplayer of Halo Infinite might have been free to play, huh? Interesting. I wonder where you might have heard that before.
Hmm.
Yeah. Aaron says, Jez, tell me about Metamorphosis. Should I be interested? What's he talking about, Jez? What's Metamorphosis?
I don't know.
Interesting. Now Jez has to find out what that is about. Sin Vendetta says, Ranjez Battletoads August 20th. That is true. We'll be talking about that. Cold Eastwood says, Jez, we need your help in Grounded. Jez has like, how many hours you got in this Grounded game already?
I got like 30 hours in the game already.
30 hours.
This is my game, man. I'm in my element. I love survival. I love crafting. You know it, man. I love drinking water, foraging. I love this shit, man. And also, it's got like all the Monster Hunter elements of getting armor from specific monster kills and stuff. It's my ideal game, man.
Yeah.
You a fan of Honey I Shrunk the Kids as a kid?
I mean, I love Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and I'll probably actually try out Grounded soon enough. Colt's been saying how great it is, so I'll definitely check it out. And me and you should probably take me on a tour. Show me the ropes in that game since you played it so much. And shout out to the finest new member of the channel. It's a great way to support the channel if you want to. I don't have a Patreon or that stuff, and I always just, if you want to support, you can always just watch the videos and hit the like button. But if you want to go to the extra mile, you can always hit the join button, become a member. Me and Colt have been talking about making some emotes and some stuff for the members of the channel, so that'll be coming pretty soon. And Nuisance says Battletoads. Yes, Battletoads. So we got a lot here to talk about. We got an August event rumors. Phil Spencer saying some things. I made a video about it. We'll talk a little bit more in detail. Obviously, all the Halo Infinite news. There's more talk about Xbox Live Gold going free. I saw Jeffrey Grubb, the one and only, the guy who's been a lot, talking about that. Grounded, Fable, Warner Brothers Games. I mean, there's a lot here to talk about. So make sure you guys stick around, hit the like button, and we're going to get into what we've been playing this week before we get into the topics. Jez, currently, right now, on screen, you sent me 30 minutes of you playing Grounded.
Yes.
Tell me what you think about it now that it's it's not in full release, but it's not a 30-minute demo. So what do you think about Grounded, buddy?
Dude, I love Grounded, but like this is, and again, it's one of these games where I understand if someone doesn't like it, because not everyone is into crafting and surviving and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate if it's not someone's cup of tea. Like if it's not your cup of tea, I get it. But I'm someone who really enjoys like Ark Survival Evolved. I played the hell out of that game and a bunch of other similar games like that. It has elements of a lot of those survival games that I've really enjoyed, like The Long Dark and Subnautica and stuff like that. So it's with that in mind that I'm just enamored with it, because it's got that extra little nostalgia kick of Honey I Shrunk the Kids. But not only that, it's just a completely unique setting. There's been games where you shrunk before, but none so comprehensive and complicated and like realized. Like there's games like Toy Story, and some of those old Unreal Tournament levels have like levels where you shrunk down and games like that. But literally, I can't think of a game that is like a full game where you're shrunk down. And because you're shrunk down, it's like any mundane environment becomes interesting. Like exploring things when you're 1 inch big is just really cool, and the crafting system is polished and actually works, unlike a lot of other games where it's just a pain to do anything. I'm just hyped for it, man. And they said today that they're going to start doing the monthly updates.
Yeah, the first monthly update, as the game director said on Twitter, who was incredibly happy about the 1 million players, was that the first updates come on August 27th, which is my birthday. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
I'm going to mark that down in my birthday calendar.
Yeah. So I watched Lyric play this game for a little bit on Twitch, and I think the game's visual style, like the fact that you're shrunk down and everything's big and there's like things that you normally know, like ants, spiders, stink bugs, but they're Like those spiders, bro. Like there are so many clips online of people getting freaked the F out from the spiders. Like
they're just crazy. Like they're stealthy. They like don't make any noise when they're moving around. Maybe they knock like a piece of grass or something. But oftentimes I just don't even notice they're there until they're screaming in my ear. And it's like, every time it's scary. And they've got the big glowing red aggro eyes. Like whenever anything aggroes you in this game, it gets like red eyes, which is creepy in of itself. And it's just awesome. It's still not like a horror game. It's still got like this really nice sort of chilled out, mellow atmosphere. But then like it's just these like moment to moment occurrences that make for great like dynamic storytelling, make for great Twitch streams, kind of like Sea of Thieves, I guess.
Yeah.
And clearly it's making for good streams because it beat like League of Legends and all those major games on Twitch like unexpectedly. I did not expect this game to do as well as it has been.
I mean, 1 million in 2 days is quite. And I remember, and I was even one of them making fun of the game. Or I wasn't making fun of it. Survival games just don't interest me whatsoever. But people have told me that the survival mechanics in this game this is basically like survival for dummies or a baby's first survival game for the most part. It's not really too in depth. It's not like crazy like the other ones. It's a little bit more forgiving. Like you have your backpack full of stuff, and if you die, you can come back and get your backpack, so you don't so you don't lose all the stuff you've been doing, which is pretty cool. And I gotta say, I love the aesthetic. Like I love it when it's first person, and it's just this like you're in the back, the backyard. I was a huge Honey I Shrunk the Kids fan, back when that came out. So like watching this, like man, this would be. It's just the survival stuff that's really kind of preventing me from jumping in, but I probably will. So 13 developers working on this game, Jeff. That's it. 13 developers at Obsidian.
I'm mind blown at that.
And I honestly think, because people always like, oh, passion projects or whatever, but I don't think this game ever sees the light of day if Obsidian doesn't get acquired by Microsoft. They bought them, then they saw, hey, we're working on Grounded. Obviously, like Avowed was the game that Microsoft really coveted. But, they also knew they were working on Grounded, and they're like, yeah, you can release that, just like with Ninja Theory and Bleeding Edge. Because it's kind of a tough sell to go to an independent company and say, you know what, we want to buy you guys because we love your content, and we want to give you creative freedom. And then those companies say, well, we got Grounded, and we got this other game, Bleeding Edge, and, our studio really wants to do these. It would really look bad on Microsoft to say, oh, we've changed, and then cancel those games or not let them do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, it's good that you're joining. A lot of people seem to be enjoying it. 1 million in 2 days is way more than I thought it would do. It's probably going to do a significant amount, like 3 million in a month, more than likely. If they keep on updating it, it's probably going to be a big game.
I think like the art style as well lends itself well to more like rapid updates. If it was photorealistic, it might take longer to get the updates out, but because it's like stylized and kind of cartoony, but still really vibrant and attractive, almost like a Rare style visuals, it kind of means like they can iterate really quickly, hopefully, and put like loads of content in. There's just like, and as well because they've got like sci-fi elements in it as well. Like there's like robots in it. Like it's not really a spoiler because literally the first quest you do, you start finding science equipment and you're trying to unwrap the mystery of why you got shrunk and what the hell's going on. And there's like these little science outposts throughout the game and almost like Fallout style vaults, which like it's such a juxtaposition between like, oh, Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and then it's like, oh, now I'm in a science lab with killer robots and stuff. It's there's literally so much they could do with this game. They could have like dungeons, like raid a praying mantis's lair, or they could have events where it's like maybe for one day a week a lawnmower comes and you have to dodge, be careful where you're going because you get cut up and stuff. There's literally just like so much they could do with it, and it's kind of like with that in mind that I'm more excited about this than I have been about like a lot of Microsoft games recently. But at the same time, Minecraft, I kind of expected Minecraft Dungeons honestly to have more rapid content updates than it has gotten so far, because again it's a similar situation where it's like blocky art style, You think like they can iterate quickly. The levels in Minecraft dungeons are literally made in Minecraft, apparently, and then like touched up in Unreal Engine. They got like some tool to do that, and so I was hoping that they would be iterating quicker on that, and it hasn't really happened. But I suppose it's like different studios work differently, and Obsidian are sort of a veteran studio, and I'm kind of hoping like this becomes like a staple service game for Microsoft, because it has something that for me Sea of Thieves doesn't have, and that's the vertical progression.
That is
like
true.
When I play Sea of Thieves, I feel like I've already done everything. I know that's not the case, but I feel like the most fun you can have in Sea of Thieves is just like going around killing people, ganking, stealing loot and stuff, and then like maybe you get like some gold that you can buy a cosmetic with. I really prefer to have like vertical progression and feel like I'm getting more powerful. Like right now, I've got like level 2 weapons and they do way more damage, and I can feel like surviving against bigger enemies more easy. And if that power growth that you get in a survival game is something that I really wish Sea of Thieves had. Although that's like just a personal preference. If you don't like that and you like Sea of Thieves the way it is, that's fine too. But that's the great thing, is like this can be for me, and then Sea of Thieves can be for people who just want a sandbox PvP experience and stuff. That's the name of the game, diversity, right?
Yeah. So Gunstar says, "Is this the definition of an angry inch?" I'm assuming he refers to Grounded. Beaner8127 says, "Rand and Jazz, drink at least 1 gallon of water a day to make you feel good and accelerate weight loss. Just refill a jug to keep track. You got this." I've been drinking a lot of water, so I don't know if I'm drinking a gallon. I can only have so much, Gaming Addict, what's up, buddy? You guys should check out Gaming Addict's channel. He's trying to improve a lot. He's putting out a lot of videos. He's getting there, man. Every single video, Addict gets better and better. He says, watching an update, you'll be able to go into your house. I mean, I guess that's possible. You can go into your house.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like any mundane environment you can think of becomes an epic sort of adventure in Grounded. Like I could go into my house and, battle like cockroaches or whatever, and it's cool to think about what they could do, man. I'm really excited for this game.
And Dunstar says, "Can we have aerial bee battles?" Yeah, I'm surprised bees aren't in the game. Although maybe they're a little bit too big, but they do have those flying things. So we'll have to wait and see what the updates are for Grounded. Now,
there are wasps in some of the concept
art. There are wasps, yeah. And ISL18 says, "Mr. Rand, the Filmic Insider. Do you find it annoying at this point that we don't have prices and official dates for the console?" Yes, I absolutely 100% do. We will be talking about that in the August event segment. But yeah, I'm over this whole who's gonna budge first and we're not gonna tell you our price yet. Like, are you both afraid? Are you both children? Like, just tell us the price of these consoles. Like, I don't get what the big deal is. Like, it happens all the time during E3. We would know the prices of these consoles already. Like, what are you both so scared of? And why is look, and this may sound a little bit whatever, but everyone tells me like Sony is the market leader. They're the ones in charge. They're the ones following their own path, and yet they haven't even revealed price yet. Are they scared of Microsoft? Like, what's going on here? Like, they shouldn't be scared of anybody, right? They're the dominant force in the video game industry. Well, why is there this game of chicken going on with the price and release date and all this stuff? Like, I'm just over it. Like, the prices and all this stuff needs to come out in August. I'm over all this. Like, what's the price? You know damn well it's going to be $499 for the Xbox Series X and $299 for Lockhart. Just get it over with and tell us what it is. Same thing with PlayStation. Is it going to be $3? Like, just tell us the prices. Like, what is so hard about this?
Do you think there's a possibility they're scared to reveal the price because they're more expensive than usual?
I mean, that's kind of what I thought. It was like maybe they're both just too scared to tell people that the systems start at $500, and they're like, oh, we don't want that. That's too expensive. And I even thought like, well, if Sony really was $399, maybe we would already know. Like, they would have told us, because that would be an amazing price point for the technology that system is going to be offering. So I just sit here and I'm like, we're going into August tomorrow, and we don't know when the consoles release, what the prices are. And the systems are supposed to be coming out in November, which is a couple months after August. It's like, this stuff better come. We better get the full rundown this upcoming month. But we'll talk about that a little bit more. So, Jez, I got a lot farther in Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, the latest and greatest PlayStation exclusive from Sucker Punch.
Tell me, you are playing it in black and white in Kurosawa.
No. I'm not playing in black and white mode. I'm not playing it with Japanese voices. It's too hard to. I'm playing it like if this was a movie, yeah, I would probably watch it like that or have the Japanese audio. But the game, it's too hard, like figuring out where to go and fighting, and then also having to read, the subtitles if somebody's talking and stuff. So I have it in English, and the voiceovers are really good, regardless. That's just there for people that probably want to do second playthroughs and things like that, right? They just added a new difficulty. I'm digging the game a lot. Although I am kind of suffering a little bit from open world syndrome because the game and it's an open world game. It's basically Assassin's Creed Japan, right? The combat's a lot of fun, especially when you unlock all the stances and you get into battles and you have like a lot of the gadgets upgraded, like smoke bombs and sticky bombs and the kunai and stuff like that. That like you can like kick people and as they're flying through the air, slow down time with the bow and arrow and headshot them. There's a lot of different moves you can do with the combat, which makes it fresh. But for me, open world games kind of get bogged down because as I play games, I like to do everything in an area before moving on. So I did everything in the first island, and by the time I did and I mean everything, like all the question marks, all the stuff, like it's completely liberated, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, you know what? I'm a little bit over the open world stuff in this game. Because I've been spending so much time doing it. And it's just like, that's kind of how I start to feel at some point with any open world game, whether it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey or you name it. Like at some point, even happened with Spider-Man, like no matter what, like if I'm really enjoying the game, but at some point the open world fatigue just hits me and I'm just like, you know what? I just kind of want to do the missions. I'm not really down for exploring, but my God, that game, the combat and the way it looks, it is one of the best looking games, especially on an HDR. Like the colors really pop, and they have a nice color palette, like all these different like reds and yellows and pinks, and it's such a colorful game. But some of the missions can be a little samey. Open world games, right? You know exactly what type of missions. Yeah. Hey, I heard something might be happening over there. You go over there and you do something, and the mission's over. And I thought we were over this, but like missions where you have to trail enemies. Like, they sucked in Assassin's Creed 2. They've sucked forever. I hate tailing enemies in video games. I absolutely hate it. I've done it so many times, but I'm at the point now where, like, please, do not make me follow these enemies super quietly. And then, of course, all these enemies at some point will be like, ooh, what's that noise? Let me just turn around really slowly. And then you got to get behind. They all do the same thing. And it's like, guys, we've been doing trailing missions for generations now. Why are they always the same? One, and two, why are they still in these games? I don't like that. But for the most part, I'm digging the game a lot. Like I haven't finished it yet, so I don't know what my final rating would be. But there's parts of me that at times enjoys this more than Last of Us Part 2. At other times, it's like I just kind of want to do the main story and focus on that and then the combat. So. It's really, really good, though. And this is my first Sucker Punch game, so, yeah. Penny on Wise says, Xbox marketing and public opinion started very strong in December and has seemed to slip up, to say the least, since May. What do they need to do? Jez, do you agree with that? The marketing around the new console, doing good, and then as soon as they started to market games, it was like, whoa, we don't know what we're doing. Face planting.
Yeah, kind of. It's tough, though, because I don't want to make excuses for them, but COVID really has affected Microsoft across the board because they're very aggressive about what their employees can do. And even now, most Microsoft employees are still working from home, probably will be for, honestly, the rest of the year. So I think, like, with that in mind, some of their workflows have definitely been impacted. But, we're not in regular times. So personally, I'm not like someone who's going to be like, oh, this is terrible. They need to fix everything. Blah blah blah. I think it's just this is the way it is,
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about how Microsoft is perceived on this podcast, we're often thinking about the core people who listen to this podcast and people who engage on Twitter and stuff like that. But really, the important marketing, the important messaging is what you give to the wider public, the normies, because they are the bulk of your base at the end of the day. And a lot of that will be made up by TV ads and stuff like that. But I guess one of the important things to think about is how they are perceived by influencers who do affect people's opinion. Like, you know, those your favorite Twitch streamer and stuff like that. And I don't know. Changing perception is hard, but they just need to probably focus on product truth, you know?
Yeah.
And, I think we'll see a bit more of that in August.
Yeah, I mean, people, like, there was that time back in December and even leading up to June where it was like Xbox was dropping news all the time and everybody was like, man, the console sounds great. And then Sony was really quiet on the flip side. So it made Sony look, you know, like scared or like, what's Sony doing? And then, like, as soon as, like, it shifted to, like, now we need to show games, and Microsoft had the thing with the May event where people didn't like it because they advertised gameplay and there really wasn't any. And then, you know, the July game the showcase that was, you know, last week or however long it is now, where Halo Infinite underwhelmed to a lot of people, and a new meme was born that is still being used today. And that kind of colored how people looked at the event overall, even though, like, hey, there are games coming. But man, Halo Infinite does not look good, and it doesn't really show off the power of Series X. So I get it, but yeah. Joshua Van Sickle says, on Podcast Unlocked, Miranda floated the wild concept of Series X playing PC games. Thoughts? Yeah, what's up with that, Jez?
No.
Is it possible? No?
No. Like, GameCore will bring development closer together, but if you're thinking like you're going to be playing the Win32 version of Half-Life 2 on Xbox Series X natively, no, it's not going to happen. But it's kind of like, it's all this GameCore stuff about bringing development close together. So a game that's built for GameCore OS will run natively on Windows 10 with minimal amount of work and stuff like that. And, you know, there are things they can do to
Jez, we have breaking news. Breaking news. Halo has just confirmed that multiplayer will be free to play. They just tweeted it out. 336. Halo is for everyone. We can confirm Halo Infinite multiplayer will be free to play and will support 120 frames per second on Series X. More details will be shared later.
Nice.
Just retweeted.
We knew it.
I mean, do I even need to say that I've known this is a thing for months now, and it has been one of my predictions that I have been usually put in my videos as stuff I already know. So what do you think? So let's jump into that. I know I still have another game I want to talk about, but since this is literally breaking news, what are your first thoughts on this, Jez? Halo Infinite, free to play, supporting up to 120 frames per second. Give me your initial reactions.
Well, we kind of knew this, didn't we?
Well, yeah, we've known for months, but okay, yeah.
It's nice to get it confirmed, but obviously, the first thought to make is it's going to be massive. Free-to-play games are always massive, especially ones with a big brand attached to it like Halo. So what I'm interested in now more than anything is what game modes are we talking about? Because not the masses, the normies, probably might find Halo Arena intimidating. So I'm interested, like, what's their answer to Warzone in this gen, which is maybe the more casual mode. The mode that I would probably play, frankly, because, like, Halo Arena's too hard for me. So I think we just need details at this point. But 120 frames per second, that might go to some way to explaining the art style a bit. And also what that says to me is that they want it to be an esport, you know, because I think, like, the average person sitting at home probably, I don't know. Have you ever played a game in 120 frames per second?
No, not yet. I have not. 60 frames is the most I've ever experienced in a game.
I think, like, my PC can push World of Warcraft to like 80 frames per second or something like that, but I don't really, at 60, I don't really care so much about it. But hardcore, esports players, they play games at 120 frames per second. Like that's how you play an esport, So there's that aspect to it, and I don't know. Also, I suppose we're going to get like a battle pass sort of thing that's probably part of Game Pass, like Game Pass perks.
Yeah, probably.
This is an interesting play. I wonder if they're gonna as well bundle it as a standalone game for XCloud on like Android and stuff. I don't know. I want more details, Rand. Get me some details.
You want more details? All right, so let's take a look. We got Artemis in Super Chat saying, Grounded, the survival horror game of the generation, 1,048 hours, 120 frames, Halo, free for all. Who done that for you? Yeah, so... yeah, so Halo free to play. It's it's something me, Jez, have known about for a long time. And yeah, look, Microsoft's goal with Halo and 343's goal with Halo is to literally get it into as many hands as people as possible and breaking down the barriers, right? It was always said to me when I've talked to people at Xbox that the future they saw it for multiplayer games was those games would have to be free to play. And that if there was some sort of single player campaign, that would be paid for. And they didn't say what game they were referring to, but they were just saying the general trends they thought the industry would head into. And if you look at the most popular games on Xbox, on PlayStation, they're dominated by free to play games. Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone's free to play, which is very smart, and I think Halo Infinite will follow that model. Apex Legends, like Roblox, all that stuff, like all free to play. So if Halo Infinite, if you want to put that series and you want to make it return to the stature it once had, how do you compete with all those games, with all those free to play games? How do you do it? And the only answer is that you gotta make it free to play. And Xbox is all about, it's not about the console anymore, as we've explained numerous times. It's about the platform. It's about the ecosystem. It's about getting engagement. It's about getting a huge number of players. And as you already tell on Steam, like 4 of the top selling 7 games on Steam are all Microsoft games. Like literally almost overnight, Microsoft became one of the biggest publishers on Steam. Grounded, Microsoft Flight Sim, Sea of Thieves, Master Chief Collection. And now Halo's going to be on Steam day one. It's going to be free to play. So if you want to play the multiplayer, you can play it. And if you want to play the single player, you'll obviously have to pay for it. And then on Xbox, it's going to be in Game Pass. And anybody who wants to play the multiplayer is going to be able to play it. It's going to be on streamable on XCloud, just like Fortnite and Call of Duty are, right? Through Game Pass Ultimate and XCloud. This is the right move for the franchise, especially when you look at it in the terms of Halo is going to be a platform. Like, if they got a 10-year plan for this game, and you need as many people as possible. So the only way this made sense was the game has to be free to play, right? And like you said, like I know there's people like that will say, well, this doesn't make sense because their whole business model is Game Pass, and that is true. But trust me, they will tie in lots of multiplayer stuff into Game Pass. There's going to be a battle pass coming. Will they call it a Spartan Pass? Who knows? I think they should. But there's going to be a battle pass coming. It'll iterate on all the battle passes that have gone before it. They've already confirmed 343 that there won't be real money loot boxes. So it'll be a battle pass system. There probably has a cosmetic store. Who really knows about that, as they're going to go in depth on it, right? Probably in the upcoming month. So this kind of does point to that Smith's Toy leak yesterday being just an early, because it looked to me when I saw that page, Jez, it looked to me like they just lifted it straight from an Xbox press kit. And it was just it just went up way too early. And it got taken down, and here you have it. Like, the rumors are spreading, people are talking about it, and like we already knew, so I can't imagine, plenty of other people has to know. So it's like, yeah, might as well confirm it, right? I think it's the smartest move that they could do. Yeah.
I agree. I think there's no downside really. You don't have to worry about Microsoft losing money or something like that. I've already seen some people be like, oh, well, is the campaign going to be cheaper? At the end of the day, you're still going to get like a huge open world campaign that's bigger than Halo 4 and 5 combined, apparently. Like, you pay full price for Far Cry and and Rage 2, which don't have multiplayer. So I don't see why there's any difference there. And still, the campaign's going to be available in Game Pass as well. So it's not like the value of the campaign has changed at all. But the free to play aspect gives it a chance to compete with the likes of Fortnite, compete with the likes of Rogue Company, and all those new free to play games that keep coming out all the time. It had to be free to play. It just had to be to compete. There's just no way. Only really Call of Duty can get away with that now, and even Call of Duty Warzone is free to play. So I think that's just the reality of the industry now when it comes to multiplayer games. This makes me think though, Rand. What does EA do with Battlefield? Where does Battlefield go from here?
I don't know. Well, the thing with Call of Duty is not necessarily a platform, right? They still do a yearly release. Whereas, this is supposedly the last Halo for a while. Now, if I had to say, Microsoft will tie this into Game Pass. You already have, Game Pass Ultimate perks where you get certain things for certain games. I would imagine maybe there's something where you get faster progression through a Battle Pass if you're a Game Pass member. Obviously, if you're in Game Pass, you'll just have access to the campaign. Maybe you get faster progression. Hey, maybe you even get the Battle Pass for free if you're a Game Pass subscriber. Wouldn't that be interesting? Right?
Yeah, I think it's almost certain that the Battle Pass will be in Game Pass. That's how you drive subscribers to Game Pass with a free-to-play game. It's almost like an experiment, right? Because you've got you got Smite, which has you get some perks in Game Pass for playing Smite, and that actually got me playing Smite again, just because I got a bunch of free skins in Game Pass, and I was like, oh. I should probably get back into Smite. So I think if I was Microsoft, that's how I'd do it. I'd put loads of perks in Game Pass, get people subscribing to Game Pass, and then they also get the campaign. It's all about driving people into Game Pass, really. And also, if they do get Game Pass Ultimate, then they can play Halo Infinite multiplayer on their phone, which is where Fortnite and PUBG and a bunch of those other games find a lot of users. So I think it's just the right move. I don't think there's any downside. The only downside is if they screw the updates up or the monetization model's annoying and convoluted. I suppose there are ways they could screw it up, but I personally don't think. I'd be surprised if they do. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. What about the 120 frames? Well, we had heard about that as well. Series X, 120 frames in multiplayer. Now they say multiplayer will be support 120 frames. Is that just one mode or is that the full thing, you think? Because the arena's 4v4, they're smaller maps. I can easily see that being 120 frames because you don't got to render out an entire open world, which is why it's capped to 60 on the console. But I would also assume there's still big team battle, which is 12v12. It's got bigger maps and maybe even other modes. So I'm curious if it's going to be supporting up to 120 frames for every mode or just maybe specific modes.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It could be like you say, arenas 120, and then your other modes are not 120 based on how big and complicated they are. But at the same time, it could be that they design it around that expectation that everything's 120 frames. So it could go either way, I think, there. We just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So we got Mike saying, Microsoft looking to buy TikTok mixer substitute. We'll definitely be talking about that. Gunstar75 says, should Halo be delayed? Jazz, what do you think? Should Halo be delayed? Well, I'll answer that really quickly. If it needs to be delayed, then it should be delayed. If the multiplayer is not launching with it day one, or the campaign's not launching with it day one, absolutely needs to be delayed. And if 343 is not happy with what the game is shaping up to be, and they want to delay it, then it should be delayed. But something tells me this game's coming hell or high water on the launch of Series X. Jazz, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it should be delayed. I don't think the graphics are going to really affect how fun it is. I don't think the graphics are going to affect how big it is. This kind of reminds me of the backlash to Pokemon Pokédex. There was this huge social media backlash and everyone was crying about it. But Pokemon still sold a bajillion million copies in a week. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, the graphics are probably fine. I think the most people are upset are because they wanted to use it as ammunition in the console war, wanted to feel like there was an example to point to for the buying the Xbox Series X. But the thing is, you don't need an Xbox Series X to buy this game. It's on the Xbox One X as well, and Xbox One, on the Xbox One S, and even Xbox One Legacy console. So I personally don't really care about how it looks. I think no delay is going to change the art style at the end of the day. They can touch things up between now and then, add better textures for the weapons and stuff like that. And also ray tracing will make a big difference when that finally comes to it. But I don't think it needs a delay. I think just get it out there and then update it later, kind of like what they did with the Master Chief Collection. And, this is kind of going to be, Halo Infinite is kind of going to be the Master Chief Collection 2. It's going to be like this persistently updated platform with new campaigns that just sort of appear on the main menu. It's not going to be like... That's how they're approaching this. It's like the Master Chief Collection 2. So like they can update the graphics. They can add ray tracing. They can add new campaigns. They can add new modes. This is like a platform like the Master Chief Collection is, which is done extremely well with pretty dated graphics. So I don't think the graphics need to be wildly changed. I think the criticisms are way overblown, and I don't think it should be delayed at all.
Yeah. Shout out to the over 1,500 people we got watching right now. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, all that stuff as we talk more about the breaking news that is Halo Infinite confirmed. Free to play. Dylan says, Halo just tweeted free to play multiplayer 120 frames per second confirmed. Indeed. We are talking about it right now. There's a lot here to discuss. I'm just getting through some of these other things. Artemis says, well, I already said that one. My bad. I was just getting through some of these super chats I missed. We got one from Eternal Shaddai. Jez, long time ago you said that if you don't see World of Warcraft going to console due to the game being massive and old, how do you feel about the news of World of Warcraft Shadow Legends to Series X?
It's not true.
It's not true. There you go. That's easy. It's not true. Paul says, do you see games coming out in 2021 being delayed into 2022 due to the pandemic this year? It's certainly possible. I think 2021 is going to be a very light year for content. And most developers, most publishers are probably going to spread out a lot of their releases. Like, if you look at PlayStation and what they've done, right? Especially with when their reveal event and they didn't have a lot of dates on it, right? It was just like, what was it? It was just like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and a couple others. And they didn't have a date for Ratchet, or they didn't have a date for Demon's Souls, or Gran Turismo, or Returnal, and some of that stuff. Maybe Sony realizes that if they drop all those games at launch, they won't have a lot of content for 2021. And I think we already know Microsoft themselves isn't going to have a lot of content for 2021. They might make some deals, but I don't think they'll have a lot of stuff from first party. So it's possible, these companies already know that, and they're being like, all right, well, Ratchet and Clank might have been a launch game, but now we're going to make sure that there's going to be games in 2021. So Ratchet and Clank, instead of being at launch, might be, say, a March game, or Returnal might be mid 2021, just to kind of being like, because if you drop all that stuff at launch and you don't got any software for 2021, the sales dry up and all that stuff. So do you think there's anything to that, Jez?
First of all, I just want to address that Shadowlands comment in a bit more detail because we're a bit quick on it. Okay. Basically, there was a rumor that Shadowlands was going to come to Xbox Series X because it was listed in Brazil on their trademark site as Xbox Series X as a platform. Blizzard have said multiple times that it's not coming. There's no plans to bring it to console. And they said pretty recently there's no plans to bring it to console. And then after this, they issued a statement saying there's no plans to bring it to console. I don't think they'd lie. I mean, why would they? Because people just won't be able to take their word for anything then. So I just think it was a mistake, and I don't think it'll come to console. I think there's some issue with the engine that stops it from coming to consoles or something. Like, it'd be a significant amount of work to, a significant logistical undertaking. So I don't know. It is what it is, but what ifs? Mm-hmm. And what was your question? Sorry.
I completely forgot. Games getting, supposed to come in 2021, getting delayed to 2022. And I was saying, like, a lot of the games that weren't dated could be potentially because the companies know it and they're just going to try to spread out games that maybe were for launch into next year to just kind of spread it all around. So,
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, right, it is weird that we know a lot of games that are coming in 2022, but not a lot that are coming in 2021. There are like some, but nothing groundbreaking. This is typically the case though, where we don't know about some games until like nearer the launch and stuff. So I'm sure Microsoft does have some games lined up for 2021, even if they're like publishing deals and stuff like that, which Microsoft seems to be more interested in getting into now. I think Microsoft's formula for doing a third-party exclusivity deal is like, does it help the publisher specifically? Like, are we helping like a AA studio get investment? Are we helping a publisher offset some risk and stuff like that? Like, if it's like EA, like, why would you give EA a load of money to make a game that just to keep it off another platform? That's not really Microsoft's MO anymore. And after the whole Tomb Raider thing, so yeah, I don't know. I think there will be games for 2021. So just gotta hang tight and play what we've got. Like, Cyberpunk still isn't even out yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of comments here I need to make sure, because people are very generous donating their money. Thanos says people are complaining multiplayer is free. Wow. Well, people complain about everything, so it's not a surprise. Seko Yume says Battletoads releases 820, hyped or charity rand. I'll probably play it. I don't necessarily need to play that game for charity. You know what I mean? Like, I'll probably play that game because it's in Game Pass. Mario C says, was glad to hear you on Spawncast. We need a little more Xbox love on there, mostly Nintendo and PS4 on there usually. Hey, whenever Spawn invites me on, I'm always willing to go. There's some great guys in there, Nate and MVG and Dreamcast guy. Although I don't know RGT very well, and Misclick is great too, and so's OJ. So it's a great group of people on the Spawncast, and I was happy they invited me. Adam says, does this mean The Last of Us 2 multiplayer will be free? I mean, it's a possibility. They were. I mean, who knows if they're still making the multiplayer portion of that, but there's a very good chance it could be free to play. Only time will tell. Melweezy says, so Battletoads Shadow dropped in August and not mentioned in-game showcase means it's dead on arrival, must be garbage, and why no online co-op? Come on, Microsoft. We'll definitely talk a little bit about that when we get to that part. Man, a lot of comments here. Trying to really hard keeping up with some of this stuff. Commander Sepper says, if the Xbox August showcase is true, do you think Xbox revealed the price for Series X? And what do you guys think will be showed in the event? We are going to be talking about that a little bit later. And Mariano Pampa says, hey guys, you think that with Halo multiplayer going free to play and Halo being on Game Pass, is there any point on buying a physical copy outside of just collecting? Well, it's all just options. Play it how you want it. If you want to buy the game, there'll be a $60 option, probably even a $200 option that comes with the statue. If you want to play it through a subscription like Game Pass, you'll have that. If you want to play it just free to play and don't care about the campaign, you'll be able to download the free to play version. You can just enjoy multiplayer. You know what I mean? Like, there's many different options on how you want to experience Halo. You can own it, you can rent it, you can basically play it for free. So it's all up to how you want to engage with Halo, I guess. I guess that's how I would say it. So this brings up the Halo stuff. This opens up another can of worms, Jez.
Oh no!
This opens up another can of worms with the free-to-play stuff, because free-to-play games on Xbox aren't really truly free. There is a paywall that only exists on the Xbox console that doesn't exist on PlayStation or Switch, meaning Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, and presumably Halo Infinite. Even though they're free to download, you still have to pay for Xbox Live Gold to be able to play them online. So the question is Halo Infinite going to follow that model where you need to pay for Xbox Live Gold to play it? Or will Halo Infinite actually be truly free to play on Xbox Live, and the Gold multiplayer restrictions either in totality will be removed or just removed for free to play games? Jez, what do you think?
Man, this whole debate is kind of weird, because I think what we're seeing is Microsoft in a transitionary phase. I think, like, we talked about it before, but business-wise, just suddenly ripping off a Band-Aid and getting rid of Xbox Live Gold when you don't have an alternative revenue stream is not a smart business decision, I think. So I still don't think you'll see Xbox Live Gold go away in any form until they've replaced most of those users with Xbox Gold Ultimate Game Pass. What, God, can't even remember all the names of these services now. I don't think you'll see Xbox Live Gold go away until more people are in Game Pass Ultimate, because that basically replaces it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think anything changes on the basis of this, but what we are seeing is Microsoft transition gradually away from Xbox Live Gold, and that's evidenced by getting rid of the 12-month cards. You can't buy it on the Microsoft Employee Store anymore, even, which was pointed out by Tom Warren today. So I think getting rid of the 12-month cards and making them less available is part of that gradual transition to alternative revenue streams. I think it's kind of become an inevitability that Xbox Live Gold will go away. I think it's just a case of when at this point. But I don't think it's anytime soon. I actually have a bet with someone that Xbox Live Gold won't have gone away by the end of the year. They think it will. I don't think it will.
What kind of money do we got on this bet? How serious is this bet?
It's a pizza bet.
It's a pizza bet? Okay, fair enough. I think at least at the very minimum, I think the paywall for free to play games has to go away.
Yeah,
I think that really, honestly, I think gold is going away. Period. I think it does. I think it doesn't align with what Microsoft is trying to do, making people play for online multiplayer. I think maybe they do it in stages where free-to-play games stuff is lifted, so they're more in line with Sony and Nintendo in that regard. And I think eventually gold entirely just gets removed. I'm not saying it's happening anytime soon. I'm not saying it's happening this year, but I think it does happen at some point. I mean, it could happen this year, but that would be a true surprise. So, to me, like Halo Infinite free to play is a great thing, but they need to remove, because I already see. Here's the argument I already see. It's free to play, but you have people playing it on Steam, right, for free. You have people playing it on the PC for free, Windows 10, and then you're gonna have people playing it on the Xbox, but they're gonna have to have gold. It just, that whole argument, the longer we keep on going, it's just gonna keep on coming up. And I think it's something Microsoft needs to get rid of. And I think they will get rid of it. I saw Jeff Grubb tweet today that he thinks for sure Microsoft is getting rid of gold. And you look at even some of the other things that are in that gold subscription, like games with gold is a complete joke at this point. Especially when you compare it to PlayStation Plus, it's like, what's the point? It almost seems like Microsoft is winding down games with gold. And they didn't even give you a 360 game this month. It was 2 original Xbox games. And the Xbox One games they're giving you, they aren't really, they're nothing special. A lot of the money, obviously, are going into Game Pass because it's the better service. They can get better games for it. You know, the subscription, gold is a complete relic. And Microsoft is moving beyond that. Now you say, well, they don't want to give up on that money. And sure enough, it's probably a ton of money. But I think they want to transition into something different. Looking forward, the big things for Xbox is you have the first-party studios, you have Game Pass, which is basically the future of Xbox, and you have streaming, which, sure, it's going to start small now, but the long play for streaming is 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I think that's more of what Microsoft wants to incorporate, and they want to remove the need for people paying for multiplayer. So it'll happen at some point. Like you, it would be great if it happened now, because that would be a big thing to actually start a new generation with. And maybe it would get some people to be like, you know what? I was on the fence. I don't really care about Sony games. I don't really care about Xbox games. Because yes, those people exist, folks. Regardless of whatever sort of stuff you hear on Twitter, there are definitely people out there who couldn't give a rat's ass about PlayStation exclusives, and people out there who couldn't give a rat's ass about Xbox exclusives. Don't let these fanboy people tell you that the only thing that is people care about are exclusives, because that is the furthest thing from the freaking truth, right? Those people might be like, hey, you know what? I can play my multiplayer games with my friend on Xbox. So, shout out to my buddy OBJ in the chat. He says it's not actually going away if it's just rolled in the Game Pass. I understand that, OBJ. I've seen people say that, but trust me on this, it's not going to get rolled into Game Pass. At least I don't think it will. That is counterintuitive to what I know Microsoft's strategy is. And I would be 100% shocked if they forced you to get into Game Pass to play online. I would be absolutely shocked. And I would be the first one to make a video saying, you say you're so pro-consumer, but this isn't very pro-consumer to force people into a subscription service for Game Pass if they want to play multiplayer. So I don't think... I get why people would be skeptical in that regard of saying that's what Microsoft wants to do. I don't think they're going to do that. I think gold changes in some manner, and the multiplayer eventually becomes free. That's just my take on it. Jez, you got anything to say on that?
I agree. I don't think for a second that Microsoft is gonna get rid of gold and then make people pay for it with Game Pass. If we're all about making the biggest platform for consumers and developers, free access has to be the goal. Obviously, a service like XCloud costs a lot of money to run. So having that as a paid service makes sense from a purely, financial viability perspective. And also, it also gives them a revenue stream on mobile. If it's like, well, you want to play Halo Infinite, Android phone can't run it, but, you can do it via this service that we can sell you. It's Microsoft's really ahead of the curve on this. And I don't think anyone can realistically disagree there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's for developers too. For developers and for gamers, having the biggest platform means ease of access, which means cheapest possible thing you can imagine. And just making it free is the differentiation Microsoft needs to really crack through that meme that, a PlayStation is better, frankly. So I believe that it will be completely free to play multiplayer games on Xbox in the future. I would bet money that one day that'll be free.
Yeah.
It's just about the timing. It's about how fast Game Pass grows. So if you want free multiplayer on Xbox, make all your friends subscribe to Game Pass.
Well, so so Ravenflow, shout out to you, buddy. He says, isn't Xbox Live Gold already bundled with Game Pass Ultimate? It is. But you also keep in mind that they also just bundled XCloud into Game Pass Ultimate. There's a part of me, like I said, to me, what Xbox is most focused on is Game Pass and streaming. Gold is a relic that is going to go away. So, to me, basically, Game Pass Ultimate is going to replace Gold in that thing. And I don't know anything, that's not any sort of whatever you want to call it. Some people call me an insider, but I'm not. But no, I'm not. I just, that's kind of what I feel is going to happen, is that streaming will replace Gold in that manner, and then something will change with Gold along the way. And Gala says, I can give a rat's ass about exclusives. I'm all about multiplayer. 100% agree. Console Wars dead. Well, console Wars is a thing that some people do for fun on Twitter. You don't take it seriously. I certainly don't. You like PlayStation? Great. There's freaking amazing games on PlayStation, and I know, and whenever say, hey, I'm on PlayStation because of the exclusives, I don't disagree with you, man. They're killing it. They've been killing it. If that's what you want to play on, great. People like Xbox for the multiplayer. I mean, that's 100% true, too. And, people just like different things. Valorant says, do you gents think Microsoft will move remaining time of gold subs to Game Pass, and you'll have to opt out of Game Pass when it's time to renew? I mean, presumably, let's hypothetically think if they do remove gold, they could easily convert your remaining time into Game Pass. Game Pass Ultimate. They've done that, yeah, like Jez said.
In the past. When they first launched Game Pass Ultimate, they let people roll their subscriptions together. So they have the mechanics to do that.
Yeah.
It's all about timing. It's about when they get to a point where getting rid of gold wouldn't hurt them in a huge, shocking, sudden way, And this also, they need more Game Pass perks as well.
They do.
It's so dumb how Microsoft has all of these games and all of these studios making multiplayer games that could have Game Pass perks, and none of them do have Game Pass perks. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. Got another comment here, which is very similar. Noob Sabat says, do you think they could just auto-convert all Gold members to Game Pass members and then make Gold free? Then those who don't want Game Pass can just cancel it? It's very could happen. But of course, we're a little bit ahead of ourselves, right? Like, there's been no announcement about Xbox Live Gold requirements being dropped or anything like that. This is just what I think will happen in the future. Like, me and Jez both say, like, I don't expect it to happen anytime soon, although they could drop the free-to-play stuff. So I think eventually the paywall will go down. I just don't think it will be like in a month or two. Although I could be wrong. It'd be great. It would definitely be great. OBJ says XCloud should be free though. You're just streaming the games you already own, right? Well, they do have the console streaming, which you can stream any game that you own for free. It doesn't cost anything. XCloud is a little bit different. Those are on Microsoft servers. At launch, it'll only be the games in Game Pass, so you don't technically own those. So it'll be bundled into Game Pass Ultimate, so you can have like over 100 games to stream. The ability to stream games that you own, OBJ, will come down the road when the service improves over time. So like, take a game like Cyberpunk or Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? You won't be able to stream those games at launch, but eventually, as Microsoft gets more permissions from devs and the service grows, they will enable the ability to stream your own games that aren't in Game Pass. But it's just the games in Game Pass for now.
Rand, I'm not sure that console streaming is free.
I'm pretty sure the console streaming is free. I'm 99% sure console streaming is free. 99% sure. Because last year, when they announced the stuff at E3, Phil said it was free, and people thought he meant XCloud was free. Using your own console to stream games, very much like PS4 Remote Play, is free. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm sure somebody will correct us in the chat. So yeah, I mean, we got 1,700 people watching, which is, I think, the most we've ever had, almost 1,800. Thank you, guys. We got over 400 likes. Make sure you hit the like button. Let's get this to like 600 before the show's over. Breaking news. If you're enjoying the show, hit it. Subscribe if you're new here, if you're enjoying the podcast. But there's also the downside, or maybe the ugly side of Halo, which, people, 343 had a blog post yesterday talking about the visuals and how they're listening, and they know that it needs to improve. But one of the big takeaways that I noticed was that they said that the build for that demo was only a few weeks old, implying maybe a month. But I could have sworn I heard insiders who made videos say that the build was somewhere between 3 months or, 7 months old. But here's 343 saying it's a couple weeks. So what do you think, Jez? You've been on record saying that you don't think the game's going to get that much better looking by the time it comes out, right?
No, when people said the build was several months old, I was like, really? I don't think so. Because why would they do that? If they had a build that looks significantly better, they'd at least put a line on it saying not indicative of current gameplay or something. They would have put some disclaimer on it. I really don't think it's going to look much different than it will at launch. Maybe you get slightly better weapon textures here and there, which is one thing people pointed out were better in another game. It's an art style thing, but I think it's also an iteration thing, making sure that they have something they can work with where they can make content more quickly. I do believe some of the stuff they said about wanting to return it to the classic art style, because I've seen the feedback. A lot of people have said that. But it's kind of like Gears of War, where you have the new school of Gears who like the new stuff, and then the old school are like the old stuff. And it's similar with Halo. You get people who prefer the new art style, but maybe they want the old gameplay. It's like the amount of DMs I got from people asking me if Sprint would be removed because they want it to. They want to have the nostalgia of having less features. I don't get that personally. I don't get it. Maybe there's some kind of gameplay reason to get rid of Sprint. I don't know. But whatever it is, it is what it is, Collating feedback isn't a science. It's kind of like an art form. And I think maybe Microsoft got some things wrong about what people actually wanted for Halo. It is what it is. I think that's pretty much what you're getting.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people upset that the Magnum and the OG shotgun aren't in the game. I I've never really been too attached to the Magnum, although the shotgun I did kind of like, oh man, it's gone away. But they do have that Bulldog they showed off. I just want to play the game. Like, it sucks, especially because the game doesn't really look great, or at least, like what a next gen game could look like. But like the gameplay to me looks phenomenal, and I would expect it to look a bit better when it comes out, but I'm not sure it's going to look so much better. But it's like I always said, like developers, if they have their own like way they wanted to, how a game to look, the art style that they're going for, then they should be able to do it. Unfortunately, for games like Halo or anything with a huge franchise, you're going to get people that are going to hate any change that they're trying to do, like, oh, sprint, and oh, you aim down sights, hell no, or any sort of changes or pushback. There's always going to be fans who are like, we hate this, right? So it's going to be on them. It did kind of read that they were a bit surprised at people's reactions to Halo and what it looked like. So I mean, I don't know, like, I watched, like, even though it's very apparent when you watch it, it was like, man, it doesn't look that good. Like, I don't know how they couldn't see that and be like, yeah, some people are going to be very disappointed with how the game looks like, but we'll see how it shapes up at the end.
The one common thread I see is, like, people who wanted it to be a massive Xbox exclusive, they're not happy with the visuals because they wanted something that represented Xbox. But a lot of Halo fans, they care less about the visuals, and they're more annoyed about the Magnum being removed. It's the problem when you get a franchise that's so big, trying to appeal to loads of different segments of your fan base. That's like, how do you do it? And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why. Like, God, I remember when they changed the texture of the horse in Minecraft or something. They changed some texture in Minecraft from the classic texture, and people went crazy about it. And we're talking about Minecraft here, a game where the models have like 16 pixels, and it's just like, how do you balance the new with the old and stuff like that? It's weird. It's a weird topic to talk about, really, but it is what it is, and I genuinely don't think it's going to look any better. So, like, if you were holding out hope that it's going to suddenly look like Horizon Zero Dawn 2 when it launches, you can shed that hope right now, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else we got? Dark agreeing with us, saying that he agrees that about not forcing people into Game Pass. It just doesn't line up with what they're doing. XCloud will sell Ultimate. I have it, and I bought a new larger 4K tablet. I'm loving XCloud. Yeah, like, that's the thing. If somehow they just transition Gold into Game Pass and they force you to get Game Pass to be able to play online, that would be such a bullshit move. I said that in my video about it, and I would come out very strongly against that if that was their plan. But I don't think that's their plan. Like, Microsoft is all about these options, and that would be less options. And I already saw, like, they removed the 12-month option from the digital store. Tom Warren tweeted they removed even the employees' 24-month and 12-month options from the company store. So something is changing with Gold, and a matter of time we'll find out soon. I think it's just a matter of time before they announce the stuff. We have August coming up here, which we're going to be talking about the August event. We're going to be talking about EA getting into we got a whole bunch of topics here, and I know this Halo thing was a topic. And it was just like a rumor, but now that it's confirmed, it was like, well, this is big news. Blue Moon FC says Craig is the chosen one. Man, the memes on Craig are just fantastic. Although it is funny when you have like other companies, basically like taking shots at you, like Domino's taking shots at Halo. Like, this is not something you would see back in the day, but literally everybody and their mother are trying to get clout off of just. And it's funny. All the memes are absolutely hilarious. Like, I've seen so many of them, and every single one I see is just funny stuff. People are so creative on the internet.
You know what irritated me about the Domino's meme?
What?
They were like, the way they did the picture suggested the resolution was worse. But it's nothing to do with the resolution.
I know.
It should have been like, the picture should have been like a less detailed pizza or something.
But the fact that the fact that Domino's is even clowning like Halo just speaks to itself, right? Like, that would never happen before, but here we are. Dan Lazaro says, I'm feeling Grounded is going to be a surprise big hit for Xbox. Looks like it already is. Scotty Man says, do you think Series X console will sell poorly because the last Do you think Series X consoles will sell poorly because of the 2-year last gen support and PC support with Project XCloud? Well, it'll sell. It depends on pricing, which we don't know about. It depends on launch games. It will depend on a lot of factors, like what's the economy going to be looking like, right? Do people have money to spend? There's so many things that will go into that, right?
Yeah. There's so many factors to all of this stuff.
Yeah. And Judah Zook says, didn't 343 already confirm the build was a few weeks old, not months old in their blog post? The build was used to run the campaign demo, was work in progress for several weeks ago. We just got done talking about that, yes. But I remember watching videos from people that said their insider source said that the Microsoft the 343 demo for Halo was 4 months old and was run on a debug mid-spec PC, and I'm just like, really? Come on now. And then 343 was like, yeah, it's like a week old. Mariana says, sorry for the dumb question. I know it's not about graphics, but what's the deal with the Slipspace engine? Any details you two know that you like? I don't know anything about the Slipspace engine. Judge, do you?
I don't know a thing. I'm guessing it's like designed for Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Designed for modularity, fast updates and stuff like that. I have no idea the details on what it is or what it does or why it's special and stuff like that. It's another one of those wait and see dealios, I think.
Mm-hmm. So, man, that topic went on for a long time. Jez, what do we got here? Warner Brothers Games. Did you see the thing from EA yesterday? Where they are very interested in acquiring new studios, and that they always kind of are looking, and they are kind of tied to WB Games. Microsoft, obviously, a couple weeks ago, was put out there that they're interested in it. What do you think's going on with Warner Brother Games?
I think definitely Microsoft is bidding on Warner Brothers Games.
You think definitely? So definitely you think Microsoft is bidding on them, huh?
I think I've got pretty decent information that Microsoft is in the running to get that studio. But there are a lot of nuances and complexities to this specific deal because of Warner Brothers IP, because of who will own that IP, who will own the rights to those existing games. Do the rights to those games cover streaming, which is obviously important for Microsoft, less so for EA and Activision. So there's a lot of factors in the mix that might stop Microsoft thinking that Warner Brothers is a good fit for them, because obviously if they say, for example, Microsoft decides, yeah, we're going to buy Warner Brothers Studios, and they have their legal team, very highly paid legal team, look at all the information about these games, and then they realize that, oh, we're buying Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight and Arkham City, but we don't have the rights to stream those games because the Batman IP is transferred a million times, and there's no hard information about whether we can stream those games or not. And Microsoft obviously wants to be able to stream those games because that's their whole business model now. So it's really complicated, and I think there's a lot of factors that would potentially negatively impact any sale for Microsoft specifically that wouldn't affect EA and Activision. But at the end of the day, Microsoft has a lot of money, and they've got very highly paid lawyers who specialize in company acquisitions. Microsoft basically grew its business empire on acquiring companies. So I think if there is a possibility, vaguely, that Microsoft could get that and have all the IP that it wants and the rights to those IP, Microsoft are probably going to gun for that. But at the same time, I think if Warner Brothers can't guarantee that they actually own the rights to a lot of these properties in their entirety, which is something we see with MechAssault. We didn't get MechAssault on Xbox backwards compatibility because the rights to those games aren't fully fleshed out, because they were written up in a time before online platforms, before streaming and all that sort of stuff. And there is a legal question about whether Microsoft has the rights to do some stuff with MechAssault as an IP without going back to the people who actually fully own the IP. You know what I mean? So Take a breath. Complicated times, but I think it could go either way.
I look, it would be a big purchase, and I think it could be worth it from like obviously it's a long-term play. You look at some of these studios like Microsoft bought Obsidian, Ninja Theory, and even those ones they bought in 2018, you won't see a lot of their games until 2022. And that's when things will start to get rolling for Xbox and all the studios that they purchased and acquired, right? Look, to me, Warner Brothers would be a long-term play to get Rocksteady and NetherRealm and their other, like, Traveler's Tale and Monolith, not to mention all the support studios who I assume Microsoft covets. They lost Splash Damage recently to Leiyu, right? Like the Leiyu company that Tencent's buying. And they used to work a lot on Halo, and they used to work a lot on Gears before they did Gears Tactics. I think Microsoft, especially with a lot, like look at like 343 right now, with everybody working on the game, it would definitely help a lot if they just had some of these extra Warner Brothers studios that are support, if they could just put them in to help on the game. So it would be a long-term investment, because even if you bought them, which would be ridiculously amazing, like Rocksteady's doing Suicide Squad, and that game's not supposed to come out until 2022. So even if at 2022 and they fulfill all their contractual obligations that they already signed on doing, you're probably not getting another Rocksteady game for quite some time. Same thing with maybe even something from the NetherRealm devs. So that's more of like a long-term play, whereas like some of the other like you hear like. It certainly seems like Microsoft and Bungie are getting close. They did the deal with Game Pass. Are they talking about maybe Bungie rejoining? I know they're independent now, but or like IO Interactive or like any of these smaller indie. Like there's things that would be more like in the short term that would definitely help out, but Warner Brothers would be definitely a long term plan. And I think Phil has the go ahead to do these things. It's just like you said. It's the IP licensing. It's can they do these things in Game Pass? Can they put them on cloud? But I would imagine if Microsoft truly wants it, like if they truly want it, if Xbox truly wants WB Games, then nobody's gonna outbid them for it. They can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like nobody's gonna outbid them for it. So it's just a matter of coming to an agreement. I still think it's highly unlikely. There's a lot of money to be thrown around here, and I like I've always said, I think they're interested, and I think they've always been interested. I just have my doubts that they're going to spend that much money on Warner Brothers games, and we don't even know if AT&T truly wants to sell, or maybe
Yeah, I mean the other part of this is like I really do believe that Microsoft wants to have the exclusive rights to make games based on those IP that they will be purchasing. Like, if you buy Warner Brothers games, do you also get like the older Shadow of War game? Do you get all that stuff? Do you get the rights to make future games based on Lord of the Rings and those IP? I would presume yes, as part of the deal, because AT&T obviously, like, why would they not want to sell that? It's kind of like what Disney did with EA, selling the rights to make Star Wars games exclusively to EA, right? With mixed success so far, shall we say. But if you can't secure the full rights to those IP, and some of those comic book rights are very complicated, because like Warner Brothers didn't always own DC, Warner Brothers didn't always own like a bunch of those things and stuff like that. Like, are the agreements they have in place to make games based on those games, are they modern? Are they up to date? Do they account for online platforms and streaming and all that stuff? It's really complicated. And I personally think, like, if you don't get the rights to do all the stuff you want to do with that IP, then maybe you just shouldn't, because you can always just hire all those devs. You can just poach them. If you want to make a support studio, you can just poach them all, So there's that is a possibility that they could do as well.
Yeah. It's just I've said countless times, like, Microsoft definitely needs to have more studios. Like for their grand vision to like pan out, they need like three or four more new studios. I mean, already, like, they bought these studios in 2018, and you're really not going to see the fruits of those labors until 2022 because it takes time to make games, right? Like, sure, Grounded is out now, and Bleeding Edge is out now, but those games were all in production before Microsoft got them. So you're talking about, so it's like, for them to do is like, they need more studios, and I think they know they need more studios, and something like Warner Brothers Games does not pop up often. Like, hey, like a studio with these amount of high quality developers doesn't always, that opportunity doesn't always present itself. So
I agree.
We'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Chris says, if Halo is supposed to last 10 years, do you think eventually they will have to drop support for OG Xbox One for new features? It only makes sense. I think yes. I think eventually down the road, Halo Infinite will support for Xbox One for Halo Infinite will drop. I cannot imagine Halo Infinite, in 2030 being still on the Xbox One. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I think like eventually when they've replaced all the XCloud hardware with the faster SSDs, it's the SSDs mainly, because like when you're booting up an XCloud server, it takes anywhere up to a minute. And that's because it's literally booting up an Xbox One from cold, and it has to set up that server and stuff. And when they've been upgraded to SSDs, that'll be way faster. So there's all that stuff to deal with.
Yeah. Devin Nunes says, hey, on a side note, when the games get more demanding, the PS5 will fall to 9.2 teraflops. PS5 will not age well. PS5 Pro? I mean, I kind of, I don't really talk about the hardware stuff because I'm not really well-versed in the hardware. I guess the question is, hey, will they make a PS5 Pro? Maybe. Although there were reports that Sony has, only planning to do this gen for 5 years, which I don't really see that being likely. I guess it really depends on what if they are doing a PS4 Pro, they're definitely in the planning stages of it now. More than likely. So, I don't know. I guess it really depends on how well the PS5 and it competes with the Xbox in terms of games. If they look very similar and there's no sort of gap between them, then maybe Sony's gonna be like, we don't need the Pro. Obviously, the mid-gen consoles were needed. The PS4 and especially the Xbox One were underpowered consoles even when they came out. And the Xbox One X was a godsend for me. Playing these games, better frame rates, higher resolution, especially compared to the One. And the PS4 Pro is a better system than the PS4. I think that was more because those consoles in 2013 were limited at what they can do. They reused the Jaguar cores and everything. Whereas both these consoles, they're same architecture, but they both have Zen 2. And while the GPU of Series X is better, it's not like the GPU of the PS5 is considerably more weaker. So I guess it really depends. I mean, if you start seeing Digital Foundry stuff where PlayStation games aren't keeping up with Xbox games and resolution and frame rate, they might have to decide yeah, you know what? We definitely need some sort of pro model. So it all depends on what Sony's business plan is for the gen, because I'm sure they have that all scripted out already. King Supreme says Microsoft needs to buy a Sobo. Plague Tale developer thoughts. I think they need to as well. I think they're a great developer. They're working on Microsoft Flight Sim, which all the previews for that game have seen incredibly positive, and it looks like one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Have you played it yet, Jez, the Flight Sim stuff?
I haven't. All the betas are on PC at the moment, and honestly, I don't want to try run it on my 2060. I kind of feel like I won't be doing the game justice or whatever. So I'm gonna wait until either I've got a better PC, which is something I'm considering, or just wait for the Series X version, which is coming later, I guess.
Yeah. Spider-Man says, Rand and Jez, you need your own superhero movie. Captain Filmic and Ultra Insider. Uncovering rumors at 30 frames per second. Love the show. Thanks. Captain Filmic is, of course, Jez. Ultra Insider is not me. Sorry. I refuse to call myself an insider because I'm not. I just have people who like to share information.
That is literally why.
Yeah, but I don't go out there on Twitter telling people what's happened. I'm not one of those people. I don't want that label on me. I hate it. I don't want people to write articles about me like they do when Shinobi says something or or any like Cloburl or anybody. Like, I don't want people to write articles about me because I'm not always right about the stuff I say. Some are legit predictions where I don't know. Some sure is stuff I've heard, but like, I don't want that on me, man. I don't want that kind of stuff on me. I don't need it. I don't want that extra pressure. Get out of here with that.
I'm gonna start covering your videos as insider leaks.
No, because sometimes I might throw in something there that is true, but a lot of the times I just kind of speculate on my own stuff. Let's see, the Xbox August event, Jez. So I guess the setup for this is that Phil Spencer, after the game showcase, said that he went on the iJustine podcast and they talking about backwards compatibility, and that Phil said, "Hey, we'll see more about this, or I can talk more about this in August, blah, 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 blah." And then everybody kind of online was like, is there an Xbox show in August? Is there an Xbox show? Like, what's happening in August? Do you know anything about this? Because if not, we'll just speculate at what I think is going to happen. But have you heard anything through the grapevines?
I've heard some reports that there could be some kind of actual showcase event thing in August. I haven't got like hard verified data that I'm willing to like put in an article yet. But like, just for the sake of the podcast, I do have a pretty strong rumor that there is going to be a showcase in August of some form. Microsoft does have a lot of things to announce in terms of the platform, and they were pretty clear that they're going to talk about platform stuff in August. But obviously, like, one of the things that I suppose they were going to announce is that Halo is going free to play.
Yeah,
and that's going to be 120 frames per second. So that's like one of your big announcements, sort of, slipped out there, kind of. So yeah, I think there will be something. I think there'll be some smaller news hits and stuff, like kind of like how they did Battletoads in a news post rather than in the main event and stuff. So there's that kind of thing to look forward to, and I think August will be pretty fun.
Yeah,
hopefully only get the bloody price.
Well, there's gonna be a lot. Like, okay, so I agree with you. I agree with what?
I just want to announce something.
Oh, okay.
I just soloed a wolf spider.
Ooh,
so
you just soloed a wolf spider, huh?
That's like probably the hardest mob in the game. So yeah, I'm pro gamer.
The Jez is programmer. So I agree with you. I think this Halo stuff, this Halo announcement was definitely planned for August. I think, which is interesting that they felt their hand was forced by a store I've never even heard of, right? Like,
yeah, it's a European store, specifically Irish.
Yeah, I honestly thought they would just ignore it. I did see Greg Miller, Major Nelson was being interviewed because he was doing a lot of things with the Kind of Funny crew, and he was on Kind of Funny Games Daily today with Greg Miller. And the question, obviously, about Halo free to play came up, and Larry was just like, "I don't know anything about that." Like, and I'm just like, "Come on, Larry! Like, of course you know about it." And obviously, he can't say he knows about it. So I'm just wondering, like, everybody at 343 is like, do we have to announce this? And there's like, yeah, I guess. Like, I would imagine that would be maybe tied to some big thing. Maybe like, hey, whatever they're doing in August, like, we hear it's hardware, services, maybe a game shown off or something. But like, that was supposed to be a big thing, like a big announcement. Like, hey, here's the multiplayer. Here's what Warzone looks like. Here's maybe big team battle. And by the way, you can play this for free. And then maybe tied into like, free-to-play games on Xbox are now actually free-to-play. But because of this leak, they felt like they were forced to come out. Because I doubt they really wanted to drop this on a Friday. Most positive PR stuff does not come out on a Friday. It's usually Mondays or Tuesdays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that I think was planned for August and was moved up because of the leak. Then, of course, there's there's Lockhart, Jez. There's Lockhart. I mean, you have the 343 guy, Chris Lee, talking about it in an interview about how Halo Infinite's going to support the new consoles, plural, or whatever he said. There's obviously all the code in the OS and the developer kit and all these. Like, Lockhart has to get absolutely revealed this month, right? In August.
You'd think so. wouldn't you?
I mean, you would hope so. The Xbox White controller, the new Xbox White controller picture was leaked, and the guy deleted his Reddit profile. I think all signs point to that system being, announced. It's just a question of there's a presentation, which I'm pretty sure about, and then there's going to be a bunch of news drops. The question is, like, would Lockhart be more suited for a news drop where they just announce it and maybe Digital Foundry has a video ready to go because they have hands-on with it, or maybe Austin Evans? Or is that something where, like, you save for a presentation, maybe around Gamescom, where it's like, here's Lockhart, here's some games running on Series X, because we still haven't seen a game running on Series X yet. Stodgy Caesar says, Chris Lee said, and I quote, Halo will work on all Scarlet consoles. I mean, of course, I don't, of course, it's obviously a real console. So the question is it just a regular news drop, a blog post, maybe with the video and some Digital Foundry analysis, or is it a presentation where they talk about Lockhart, they show it, and then finally we get price, we get release date, we get pre-orders opening up? Because if you go back and look, that's when pre-orders opened for the Xbox One X, was in August, around Gamescom. I mean, what do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I mean, if it is literally coming like at the same time or around the same time, they can't not announce it at this point. It's just getting silly. I'm honestly surprised it hasn't leaked yet, because I know Microsoft employees have it, and so yeah, I guess the Microsoft employees that have it are being very, very, very well behaved right now. More well behaved than the Surface Duo testers were, anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I'm shocked that Lockhart hasn't. Well, like you say, the controller might have already kind of leaked.
Yeah, so it looks like we saw, one of our teams spotted recently that there was an Xbox controller going through the FCC, like a new one, and we were like, well, that could be a special edition. But then that picture of the new Xbox controller came out, so I'm pretty sure like they're gonna release the controller at least, maybe beforehand. Maybe they just ran out of stock of the original one and just thought, there's no point manufacturing any more of the old ones. Let's just manufacture the new ones, because the new ones do work with the old console. So, yeah. Yeah. I just announce it. Just do it.
The big thing for me is how long you're going to wait, because Sony has a state of play coming for sure soon, somewhere between the 5th and the 11th. Now, what they're going to show there, who really knows? I've heard conflicting things about a returning big franchise that could be making its debut during the show. Maybe not necessarily a launch title, but then I've heard, like, don't really expect a lot of big things from Sony's state of play. So I don't really...
there's going to be major third-party timed exclusivity deals.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I expect Final Fantasy 16 to get announced as an exclusive at this upcoming thing. Like, I'm pretty sure Final Fantasy 16 is going to be an exclusive for PS5. But I'm just saying, like, like I said, I get conflicting info about this PS5 thing. Some people say don't expect much. Some people say they're coming out swinging again. It's like, okay, and there's like a big franchise that is first party that hasn't been seen in a while that is going to be returning. I've heard the game and what it could be, but I'm not going to say it because obviously I respect people that tell me this stuff. But I think like no, I'm not. No, stop saying that. But then there's also rumors of a second sort of Sony show, maybe in August, maybe in September, that details maybe a blog post, maybe some videos about the user interface, and obviously they're going to have to give. They're going to have to give price and pre-orders and stuff, and it comes down to all that. Like, if Sony's having two things, if Sony has a state of play up here soon, either next week or the week after, and they're showing off some new games, maybe some launch titles, maybe some stuff a little bit further out. I mean, there's rumors that God of War is going to be there. Like, they're going to tease God of War, which would be amazing because God of War is huge, but I think God of War is a little bit too far away at this point to tease, and I don't think Sony really needs to tease God of War. Maybe they watch the Xbox Game Showcase and they're like, we got nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? And they're like, yeah, we don't need to bring out God of War yet. And I'm just kind of curious, like, will they end? What?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
If I was Sony, I'd save God of War for when Microsoft actually has a photorealistic exclusive to talk about. There's no need to like anything that Microsoft's shown right now doesn't exactly scream of, super Hollywood photorealism right now. I mean, we've seen it as supposedly in-engine Hellblade, but we haven't really seen it in motion as far as we know. So they can get away with maybe not teasing it.
Mariana Pop says, any new info on the leaked Xbox white Xbox controller? We just talked about that. Sorry, I missed it. And iSilar says, Lockhart reveal also annoying. There must be something special about it compared to the digital version of PS5. Also sounds like there's a serious supply and demand issue with the 2-3 months short notice of console date. Something special about Lockhart is that it's going to be really, really cheap compared to the other consoles. That's its whole purpose. It's a cheap next gen entry point. It's the cheapest next gen entry point. And I don't think there's anything serious about the supply and demand. I mean, Sony just said they're ramping up demand or ramping up supply to meet the demand of the PlayStation 5, or at least what they think will be the demand of the PlayStation 5. I just think, like we mentioned before, maybe both are just too scared to be the first one to come out and say $500 in this current climate. Or maybe one of them wants to surprise the other one. Who knows? But I think for sure, 100%. Like, we can't go into September not knowing the prices and pre-orders of these systems, right, Jazz? I mean, that's something that's not realistic, right?
That'd just be weird, because I don't think that's ever happened before, has it?
No. I mean, you look at it like Amazon and all these places are going to have to put in their orders for these consoles, and they usually base it on how many pre-orders they get. And if you're waiting all the way to September and those consoles are coming out, 2 months later, less than 2 months later, is that enough time? So the pre-orders definitely have to be coming, this month along with price. The question is, will Sony drop it at the end of this state of play, or do they have some sort of other event? And I can't imagine, even though Microsoft probably has a bunch of news drops, like they'll probably go more about backwards compatibility. They'll probably have more info about XCloud because it's launching in September, so maybe giving you an overview of the games that will work and what how you'll be able to play it and stuff like that. I would imagine the price and release date will be part of a presentation. I can't imagine just waking up one day, looking at Twitter, and then Xbox just tweets out, pre-order Series X now for $499 and Xbox Lockhart for $299 or whatever. You know what I mean? I would imagine they would want that moment with somebody like Phil giving the price for the systems, right?
Yeah, like press like that stuff resonates, and I think you need a big filmic press conference for that sort of thing.
Of course, you would say you need a filmic press conference. Mr. Scratch says, I heard rumors next week there'll be a Bethesda sale on Xbox because of QuakeCon, similar to what happened with Ubisoft. Anyone else heard that? Well, usually when stuff like that shows up, like whatever, they usually have a sale that corresponds with it, so I wouldn't be surprised. And we have one from Faisal. He says, everyone care about the hardware. I'm just hungry for Hellblade 2 and gameplay. Also, the support of third parties showing an Xbox side looks weak. I mean, I'm looking forward to Hellblade. It was the biggest disappointment at Game Showcase for me was the fact that they skipped it and was just like, hey, we're still making a game and it's set in Iceland. Although, I don't think the support for third parties on the Xbox side weak. I just think Sony's out there cutting more deals for third-party games than Xbox is. And that's why it appears like that. Because that's what we had heard for a long... Like, Sony was out here cutting deals with big developers and small developers. I mean, if you would have said 2 years ago that the launch of next gen, Sony would have 2 Bethesda exclusives that were originally announced for multi-platform, but then Sony bought exclusivity for it, people would say you're lying and would be really upset about that. But for the most part, nobody was upset that Sony did that, but are of course really upset when Microsoft does any sort of exclusivity deals. But yeah, I was kind of I mean, I guess it's not shocking because I don't think Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo are going to sell very well. So Bethesda's probably like, you know what, we'll just take Sony's money and we'll just we'll just earn our dev budget back through that way, right? So
Yeah.
Um,
games are gonna light the world on fire.
Yeah. So yeah, what else? Oh, Game Pass, Jazz. This other thing here. Did you notice a lot of concern recently coming out about if Game Pass is sustainable or not, and if it's making Microsoft money?
Yeah, that's a weird thing to be worried about.
Very weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, just look at Netflix. Netflix makes stupid money doing what they do, and that's it. That's the business model. It's Netflix, and it's not like I read like Netflix has something in production now that's got like $100 million budget or something. And yeah, games can often be like that expensive or more, but it's kind of like, yeah, but unlike a Netflix show, you can also upsell microtransactions on top of that. And then you can cut like all sorts of deals. Like there's more you can do with a game to monetize it than there is a TV show potentially. So I don't think you have to worry about Microsoft's money. I think Microsoft's pretty happy with the state of things there and right now. That's weird, I don't think you need to worry about that. Who's worrying about that? Really?
I know a lot of people concerned about how Game Pass isn't going to make any money, but we've always said on this show that it's not supposed to make any money for the first few years. The whole point is, and the whole reason why you see $1 subscriptions and easy access to get into it is because they're in user acquisition. They're trying to get as many people as possible. And they're spending all this money getting games and content, and they're letting people get into it super, super easily, whether it's through its promotions or, deals or what have you, because they want the people in that ecosystem. And then eventually, when they move on from user acquisition to user retention, the deals won't be there anymore. The content will be flowing, and then probably at some point they'll start raising the price. That's kind of essentially what Netflix is going to be doing. And I know people say Netflix is in debt. Yeah, they are right now. But wouldn't you love a piece of their stock? And they always say like they have a plan to become profitable, and it just takes time. I mean, they spent like $15 billion on original content, right? And here's the thing. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care that Netflix is in debt. I'm not thinking about Netflix's bottom line when I'm literally watching Umbrella Academy Season 2. I don't give two shits about their financial stability. I'm just enjoying the content that I get to watch because they're trying to invest and get users. Because that's the whole thing. So when I'm playing, when I'm going to be playing Halo Infinite, well, I'll buy Halo Infinite, but, like Avowed and Game Pass or whatever, I'm not worried about Microsoft's financial stability or solvency or whatever you want to say. I'm enjoying the game, and I'm like, I'm happy this game is being made. I couldn't give two shits about if Microsoft is making money for this. Like, it doesn't matter to me one bit. I'm just enjoying the content. So I think it's a way for people to troll the Game Pass. It's like, well, it's not making any money, and it's just like, who the hell cares if it is or if it isn't? Just enjoy the games. Like, Jesus Christ. Do you worry about the users when you open up your Spotify account and listen to your Marilyn Manson or your Taylor Swift, and worried if those artists are getting if Spotify's making money or anything like that? No, you don't give a flying F for that. You're just like, give me my music.
That was like the two ends of the musical spectrum described.
I know, right?
Taylor Swift or Marilyn Manson. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you like? Do you prefer Taylor Swift or Marilyn Manson?
I mean, my younger self really enjoyed Marilyn Manson back in the day with Mechanical Animals and Antichrist Superstar. My sisters listened to Taylor Swift all the time, so for years and years, all I heard when they still, lived here was just like, hey, it's Taylor Swift. So, yeah, you know what? Like, I have no qualms with Taylor Swift. I've only been listening to her because my sisters loved her for so long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, I know. People are going to be like, wait a minute, what? Shut up. Taylor Swift. For life. Faisal says, can we just stop and realize how big a vow could be if done right? The show made me more excited for the future and lies at the end of the tunnel. Did you read those leaks about the Avowed, Jez? Bigger than Skyrim, 4-year production, all this cool stuff?
That's interesting. I was told that is the game Microsoft bought them for, is Avowed.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to assume that is the banger. That's the one their core team's making. It's not like the game they made for private division just to cash flow the business and stuff. That is the banger, the number one game that their team is making. And man, I am pretty excited about it because let's face it, Obsidian know their way around the Bethesda style RPG. They made a better Bethesda RPG than Bethesda did. Fallout New Vegas is the best Bethesda RPG. Like, bugs notwithstanding, very janky game when it launched, and probably still pretty janky. But it was just better. It was just a superior game to what Bethesda is and was offering, frankly. So I'm excited to see what they do with Bethesda's signature product in a world where ZeniMax seems intent on running Bethesda into the ground, which depresses me immensely. But that's business, baby.
So there's that, and we got another Spitfire Spud. He says, hey guys, what is your take on the initiative? Do they need to show anything in August? Also, I would like Microsoft to acquire Ion Interactive, Asobo, and Bloober instead of Warner Brothers if their IPs were an issue. I guess it really depends on what Sony shows. We had heard that, Jeff Grubb and a whole bunch of people said the Initiative's game was pulled, and it certainly kind of felt like it. I really do feel like that Hellblade 2 part was definitely like a situation where it was like it wasn't planned to be there, but something was pulled. And like we needed something to fill some time, and it's like, all right, we'll just, talk about Hellblade. I would imagine if Sony really comes out swinging, and they got some big first-party game that they show that's like launch title or something, that maybe they're like, all right, whatever we were going to show, the Initiative's game in August, in July, we're going to show again. Because wouldn't that be cool if like there's a presentation around Gamescom, they announce Lockhart, they show some stuff running on Series X. They give you price and pre-order information, and then they just say, and by the way, here's another game you can look forward to from Xbox Game Studio, and they roll, which would probably be, at this point, a CGI trailer for whatever that game is, right? Perfect Dark, which is what the rumors say, or maybe Perfect Dark-ish, like a new game, but like Perfect Dark. Like, that would be pretty cool. That would be like, hey, here you pre-order the games, and here's a brand new game. Or maybe they hold off until the VGAs. Who really knows? I would like for them to announce it. I would like to, hey, let me know what the Initiative is working on. I don't care that the game probably is not coming until 2023. Just let me know it's real. That's all I've ever asked of Microsoft. Like, let me into tell me what you're working on. Sure, I could have been my issue or critique of the game showcase was like, maybe you didn't do it in the best way. Like, I would have done it in not CGI trailers because they don't really do anything for me. Or if you're going to do a CGI trailer, how about a little bit longer than a minute one? But just let me know what these studios are working on, As for Microsoft acquiring studios, they do need some studios. So it really depends. Like, Microsoft talks to a lot of people, but things, with money, some studios might think they're worth more than they really are. There's hang-ups about certain things, IPs, and, that usually, maybe the talks stall or whatever. You never know with that sort of stuff. But Microsoft has been talking to a lot of developers about that stuff. So, Judah Suck says, question, if gold go away, what do you think will happen with all the games with gold games we've gotten throughout the years? Now is it only games we get access to while still paying for gold?
No. If you own them, don't you?
No, you don't. You don't own the Xbox One game. You own the 360 games, because obviously the licenses work differently a little bit. But with Xbox One games, you can only play them while you're subscribed to Xbox Gold. So
I didn't know that.
If gold went away, technically you would lose your, like, if you don't subscribe to gold, you won't be able to play those games. Now, they could easily just let you own them and be like, whatever, all the games you downloaded are yours. Who knows about that? I kind of theorize, like, maybe they just shift gold. Maybe they remove the paywall for multiplayer and shift gold into the $10 version of Game Pass and keep, like, hey, sign up for Game Pass, and this is where you also get games with gold and deals with gold or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But who knows? And maybe we'll find a little bit more about that in August. Interestingly enough, Microsoft is rumored to be buying something else, and it's not video game related, but it could have video game implications, and that's TikTok, Jez. I saw you guys post an article today. Is Microsoft really going to be buying TikTok?
Oh man, I don't even anymore. I don't even, Rand. I don't even.
So the story is, so what's the story? Like, it's TikTok is a massive social platform, but it's owned by a Chinese business company, right? And there's a lot of concerns here in America that it's spying on American citizens and sending back info to the Chinese. And basically, the Trump administration is going to force them to sell the company, or at least part of the company, to an American company, and Microsoft is supposedly being rumored to be the one to buy the company. Is that my take on that?
I think that's basically the gist of it. Yeah, it's so random. Like, of all the things that you could say expect to happen, that is one that was low down on my expectations list. But this is one missing piece of Xbox's jigsaw puzzle that a lot of its competitors don't have to deal with, and that is the fact that Microsoft has no social graph. They have no social platform, really. They got like LinkedIn, which isn't consumer oriented, and then they've got like a bunch of like, you know, Xbox oriented things, but they don't have like an Amazon.com. They don't have a Twitch. They don't have a YouTube. They don't have a Google search. Bing is tiny, and all these like smaller sort of things stops them really from, I don't know, getting some of their content out there. And I think Microsoft would benefit, at least in their mind, from having a social platform. It wouldn't come under Xbox. It wouldn't be an Xbox acquisition. It'd probably come under the Windows unit. But I think this is like, I think that'd be a good thing for Microsoft, honestly. I really do. But at the same time, Microsoft sucks at social because they are so terrified of anything remotely edgy. Like anything remotely edgy and controversial and, well, frankly, social and human, they hate it. They're afraid of it. If it's not something that's totally sanitized and totally boring, Microsoft are like scared of it. So I think like a social platform like TikTok would really have to, they'd really have to rethink a lot of their thought processes about how they do things and how they approach this sort of stuff. But it could be a good thing for Xbox because it gives Microsoft like a social graph to tap into for XCloud. Now they do have that deal with Facebook, but then you're relying on a third party. What if Facebook releases its own service someday, and then, you know, you've built up interest in a service, and then Facebook could just kick you out of it and be like, oh, we don't need you anymore. Bye, you know. So yeah, it's complicated, but I think they should do it. I really do, and it's not like Microsoft can't afford it.
Yeah, Microsoft's got a ton of money, and at some point you're going to want to use that money to invest in new things, and clearly they do lack that social platform. I mean, LinkedIn is a social platform, but not in that way. And usually when I look at it from things of Xbox, like I don't use TikTok. Some of my friends share TikTok videos with me, but Microsoft with XCloud wants that entry point. It was one of the reasons why they stuck with Mixer for so long, because it was supposed to be that, hey, someone's streaming a game and I can now like get into a game by pressing a button tied into Game Pass, all that stuff. And it's what Microsoft feared with Stadia. They feared that Google would spend a whole bunch of money getting a whole bunch of exclusives, and that the YouTube integration would be so vast that it would just like eclipse them. And obviously that hasn't been the case. Like that whole like push to play thing for Stadia is locked behind the $10 paywall for Stadia Pro. And at this point, like, Stadia is a joke to most people, right? And we still don't know what Amazon's doing for their streaming service. That was delayed to 2021. I mean, their recent game that they put out had to go back into closed beta because it was so bad and nobody was playing it. So Microsoft, yeah, and they might be like, hey, we got rid of Mixer. We signed the deal with Facebook. We're going to have that one click to play on Facebook as well as Instagram, which is a good start. But TikTok is also huge with the younger demographic, the up-and-comer, like the really, like, so if Microsoft bought them, get their own social platform, you can definitely see that same click to play thing appearing on TikTok as well. It could really help the rollout and people knowing more, or at least being advertised to more about Xbox and XCloud. But I'm sure that's going to cost a ton of money, right?
Yeah, that would be billions, billions and billions. But Microsoft can afford it. But I think I can see a lot of people thinking, like, wouldn't that be better spent buying, like, I don't know, Bungie or something? Thing is, they can afford both. They can do both. And Microsoft is like, they've got like tons of cash, and buying companies like this wouldn't really affect them at all. And in theory, with a service like TikTok, they could like bring it to profit relatively quickly and stuff like that. So I really do think they should do it, which is like a weird thing to say. It's like one of the more random things that I've heard about this year. But I actually do think they should just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Might as well. Why buy TikTok, buy Warner Brothers Games, buy Bungie, buy Interactive, buy a soap. Just buy them all. Just be done. Buy them all. You'll have everything you'll ever need right then and there. Yeah. Henry says, hey, it would be so funny if Microsoft is just trolling everyone, waiting for Sony's state of play and shock everyone. I mean, there were people that believed, that one guy that said that the July event was going to be a night of mic drops, and it certainly didn't happen that way. Of course, I didn't believe him when he said Lockhart was going to be $199. I was like, well, I doubt anything this guy has to say after this, because there's no way Lockhart is coming in that cheap. And hindsight was true, because it definitely was not a night of mic drops. So do they have, like, you would think if they have something truly huge, they would have done it at the July show, but the July show is strictly about the games. If they do have some big announcement like an acquisition, or they're dropping gold and all the price, they could put that in some sort of presentation and be like, hey, not only is gold free, here's the price, here's a new game by the initiative, here's Lockhart, and that would get a lot of attention. Depending on what Sony does. Does Sony really have like big third-party exclusives that they're going to share at the State of Play, or like a revival of a franchise? I mean, it's possible, but, you never know until it actually happens. I mean, some people were absolutely sure that Silent Hill was going to be announced at the June event, and then it wasn't. And then they're saying it's supposed to be at the August event, but even the guy that's saying that is not even sure it's going to be at the August event. He's saying maybe in October. Who knows if that game's even real at this point. So that Sir Noob says, hello, gentlemen, love the show. To me, it seems AT&T selling Warner Brothers game and has quieted down. So do you think they sold to someone or decided not to? I don't think it's quieted down. It's just that these companies are in discussions. And it takes a long time, especially when you're talking about that big amount of money. Those things need to get hashed out. But I mean, clearly EA has their eye on them, as, yesterday kind of proved. And Jez says he thinks Microsoft is very interested in Warner Brother games as well. So I think it's just the lawyers and the people are just talking and trying to hash things out. Shout out to Kid Smooth. What's going on, buddy? He says Xbox should just grab Bungie, Techland, and Interactive and call it a day. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in Poland, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, Jez. People Can Fly have another unannounced AAA game in development and a brand new studio opening up, and I'm like, how are they doing this? And you said it's because of the government in Poland, right?
Yeah, so the Polish government have like a really, really good grant scheme for game devs and game studios and stuff. And that's how a lot of these Polish studios got off the ground. It's through this grant scheme. Like CD Projekt Red will be nowhere near as big as they were on the back of like, The Witcher 1. So, which, was a cool game in its time, maybe. But
maybe.
Do you remember The Witcher 1? Did you ever play The Witcher 1?
No, I played Witcher 2 and most of Witcher 3, but I have not finished Witcher 3.
Yeah, so Witcher 1 was a very intriguing kind of game. Very strange, frankly. People who've played it know what I'm talking about. And it had like this cool. It was still a Witcher game with a cool plot and stuff. But man, it had the strangest sort of. The combat system was kind of like if Batman Arkham Knight had a prototype almost. Very strange combat system, and the voice acting was like, wow, super not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this the Polish government. Like, I don't know the full details. If there's anyone from Poland in there who can shed some light on it, that'd be great. But Poland has like a really powerful creative fund for studios that are, being creative, and they had a lot of success with CD Projekt Red. So the government does invest a lot in video game stuff, and I think that's where People Can Fly maybe is getting some of its money, or at least part of it. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the 1,700 of you watching now, and I saw it get as high as 1,900, which would be a record for the show. I didn't think we get that many people, but we appreciate everyone being here. Like, it's pretty great to see. If you're enjoying the show, we got about 600 likes already, which is absolutely phenomenal. Jez, do you ever think when we started this stuff that a couple years down the road we'd have 1,700 people listening to us live and like essentially 30,000 people listening when it's all said and done? It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it is crazy. It's because of all your insider stuff, man.
No, not me.
Insider. What?
I was going to talk about Fable because I wanted to ask you a question. Because Matt Booty said, Fable, the new Fable coming back, they're going to bring back old, to have new things. Obviously, part of it Playground wants to do. It's kind of like making the new Star Wars movies, but they're definitely going to have old stuff. Like, and I'm going to ask you, I don't know how big of a Halo fan or Fable fan you are, but what do you want to see retained from the old Fables to make it into the new ones, and what would you like to see them drop from the old Fables and not have a return?
Well, I won't miss the jankiness, I guess, from the old ones. Like, there's certainly a lot they could do to improve aspects of the way the games handle the combat, give it a bit more depth and stuff like that. I ain't a massive Fable fan. I'm not like someone who played it hardcore. I played the original and I played Fable 2, and then I just skipped Fable 3 because Fable 2 just wasn't so mind-blowing to me. I was just kind of like, don't need to play that. But I appreciated what it was trying to do, and I remember like seeing those Peter Molyneux speeches about, oh wow, you can do this, you can do that, and I really kind of liked the promise of Fable more than the execution. So I'd honestly like them to go back to those Peter Molyneux videos and what did Peter Molyneux promise for this franchise, and can we actually deliver that? I would like I'd like them to actually give us the Fable game that was promised back in the day. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of glad it's keeping the humor. Like, I think they could definitely make it a bit darker, even with the humor. Like, sink a bit more into dark humor, maybe.
Well, that's one of the things I want them to redo. I really like the evil good thing from the original Fables. Like, if you wanted to be truly evil, you could, but it would really affect your appearance. And like, yeah, it was cute back then, but I could imagine you could do, like, with the way this game's gonna look. Like, I could imagine some grotesque, like, devil-looking stuff. Like, I really want that, like, good evil dynamic to kind of show up. And like the same thing, like the humor obviously is one thing you can get from the trailer. That'll be there. But you know what I don't want to be in the game, Jez?
What's that?
The toilet humor, the farting and the kicking the chickens and stuff like that. Like, I think we've kind of gotten past that point at this regard. Like, I don't like, because they had like a button dedicated to farting. Like, who needs that? Who cares? Like,
yeah, that was kind of like weird, I guess. Probably don't need that. But kicking chickens, what's wrong with that?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you can't. Like, obviously they'll probably kick a chicken at the beginning of the game as a throwback to it. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't really care for that bodily humor type of things. I like the demon doors. I think the demon doors should return. And if this is truly a reboot, maybe they can even hint to that. This isn't the first time there's been an Albion or Fable story, kind of like a fourth wall break in the stuff. Like things they could do there. That would be really cool, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Really looking forward to that whenever it comes out. I think Microsoft is definitely aiming for an RPG a year. So like the talk with the leak about Evolved was like it's coming 2022 or 2023. I think Microsoft is really aiming for an RPG a year, meaning if Avowed's 2022, then Fable's 2023, or Fable's 2022, Avowed's 2023, and In Exile's RPG, the AAA game that they're working on now, is 2024. You know what I mean? I think, and then Outer Worlds 2 will come out eventually because that'll be like Obsidian's project after Avowed, after they finish up the DLC. So it seems like they're going to want at least like one big RPG every single year, which is pretty cool. Shout out to the newest member of the channel, Brother Al. Thank you for joining the channel and supporting the show and all the videos I do. I appreciate that, man. And King Supreme says, do you think Compulsion's new game is AAA? So that's interesting because they were the one studio that wasn't growing very much, right, compared to the other studios, compared to Rare and Playground and In Exile and even Ninja Theory. But it just came out that they're moving into a new studio that's going to support like 100 developers. So do you think their next game is a AAA for them?
I don't see them going from We Happy Few and the other game, Contrast. I don't see them going from those games all the way to AAA. I would expect like their next game to be maybe AA, maybe experimental, kind of like We Happy Few was, and then maybe branch out even further and grow and stuff. I don't know. I could totally be wrong. And Microsoft certainly bought them for a reason, and maybe they have something they're working on that is really cool, and we don't know, we haven't heard of, and maybe they will, but I wouldn't want to put that kind of pressure on yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. It really depends. Like the one thing I'll say about Compulsion is that they are very creative. A lot of the developers come from like the BioShock teams. And say what you will about Contracts and We Happy Few, there's a lot of creativity there. I think We Happy Few was burdened by like they didn't know what they wanted to do, and developmental change through the course of time. It was supposed to be a survival game, then it wasn't, then it was supposed to be a story. Like I think it was just, hey, we don't know what you want to do, and they couldn't change it. So
it's almost like they had a setting for the game first, and then they were like, oh, now we have to make a game around this. What do we do?
We'll see what Compulsion stuff is. Is it AAA? I don't know, but there definitely looks like they're going to be growing with the new studio. It could be big, it could be small, like Jess says, but whatever it's probably going to be is probably going to be very unique. As even Contrast it was a mediocre game. It was definitely unique for what it was. I actually played that like twice, I think on the 360 and the Xbox One. I don't really care for survival games, so that's why I didn't play We Happy Few, although like the story stuff really intrigued me. I was just like, no, I just don't care about this story stuff. East Coast in the chat says, hey, Playground have 2 scriptwriters for an RPG product, but is still looking for a lead scriptwriter to direct Fable. Is it possible that they are working on 2 different RPGs? What do you think, Jez? Oh, did you just get attacked by a spider?
Oh my god!
I think it sounded like you were about to have a heart attack right there. You got really scared.
Oh, they just come out of nowhere, man.
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
So, Jez, do you think it's possible Playground's working on 2 RPGs?
I'm sorry to everyone listening. I was like, when I play games, I like make an effort not to, exclaim and stuff. But spiders in this game are something else. Do I think? Sorry, can you repeat the question? I'm still like, woo.
Do you think Playground?
Oh yeah, two script writers. I don't think so. I think they've got I think they're all in on Fable, and I think whatever they are doing with Fable is like really ambitious and just needs that many people working on it. I don't think they're making 2 RPGs. I certainly have not heard anything to that effect.
Hmm. Yeah, I think they're just working on one. And I don't think, if they're writing it now, I mean, the game's probably not scheduled for 2022 or 2023, so there's plenty of time to write that stuff. So, yeah. Let's see here. What else? Battletoads, August 20th. No online co-op, though, unfortunately, which is a shame. I thought
Yep.
maybe the delay would make them institute co-op. I think I don't know. Local co-op games in this day and age, there's whatever. Like I don't know why that game doesn't have online co-op, especially since it's an Xbox game. Whatever. I'll play Battletoads when it comes out, but other than that, I'm not really looking for much in that game. What do you think, Des? What's your take on Battletoads?
I kind of feel like Battletoads is like the lowest budget it could possibly be. I think it's more a case of Microsoft was just like maybe say for example, maybe Delilah had a pitch like we like Battletoads and we want to bring it back and this is our plan for it. And Microsoft was just like, yeah, okay then, but we're not going to invest a huge amount of time and effort into this because whatever, So it kind of feels like that might be something to do with it not having online co-op. Maybe it's just not a huge big deal for Microsoft and whatever, which is why it also wasn't in the show and stuff like that. Maybe they don't believe in it that much. Maybe they don't think there's that much of an appetite for it. On the flip side, you can kind of play online co-op using XCloud, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. It would be cool if Microsoft just like made that an actual like feature rather than a side effect, and be like, you can play any offline co-op game online using this system or whatever. But yeah, I just think it's just a low budget game from a very small studio, and like making a game that has takes network latency into account is more complicated than making a game that doesn't. So I think like if this Battletoads does well, maybe we'll see the next game have it and stuff like that. But I think it all depends on how well this one does, and games kind of have to earn their sequels, and game ain't gonna earn a sequel if it ain't good. So.
Yeah. Super Panda says maybe Spencer announces free-to-play games should be just that free to play, and also Gold is not included in regular Game Pass. Ultimate gets PC Game Pass and XCloud for $5 extra. I mean, it very well could just be for now the free-to-play games are truly free, but I do not think Gold will go into regular Game Pass, where you would have to pay for get Game Pass to play online. I will say if that happens, it's bullshit, and I'll be the first one to make a video about it. I don't care what anybody at Xbox thinks. That is definitely not options, and I think that is very greedy, because there are plenty of people who won't give who don't care about Game Pass, and I think that would be pretty horrible of you to make them force them into subscribing to Game Pass for a service that they don't want just so to get them online. I think that would be complete bullshit. Which, I'll be pretty clear about that. I think my stance on that regard is pretty clear, right? And Mike says, Tom Warren said there is more than one piece of Microsoft hardware rumored for August. Something else besides Lockhart, ? Jez? What's going on?
Well, I did previously leak a headset, which I'm surprised hasn't. Yeah. So I don't know if Tom Warren is talking about that, taking credit for my leak again.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be something else entirely. I've heard rumors about Brad Sam's mythical streaming device maybe coming back. I've heard all sorts of weird rumors. Microsoft's constantly experimenting, and also I think Microsoft's very aware that one big barrier.
One big Garrier? Interesting.
One big barrier to XCloud is the fact that it doesn't have a dedicated device, and phone screens are too damn small, frankly, for it. And there needs to be like a tablet. There aren't many 8-inch tablet options out there that really hit that sweet spot for me, especially. So I think Microsoft may be exploring making an XCloud dedicated device that maybe doesn't do anything but stream.
Wasn't that like codename Hobart or something like that at one point?
That was like a streaming stick. I'm talking about something that's got a screen in it, like
okay, yeah,
PS or something. Because they do have like the Surface Phone coming out this month, but the specs look pretty awful, and I think most people won't want to buy it. So making something just dedicated for XCloud could be cool. But I have no idea. Personally, I think it might be the headset, the next gen headset I heard about. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're gonna end the show for now. We're obviously gonna take some questions. So if you have anything you want to ask, make sure you put it in chat. We appreciate the almost 1,900 of you that showed up. That's right. I think we almost hit 1,900. Biggest show in our history. This will be up later on Google Play and iTunes and all that stuff, probably tomorrow. We appreciate all the support, all the people that hit the join button, everybody that donated, super chat, and everyone that hit the like button or just chatted. Chatted respectfully, because obviously trolls want to ruin everything. But I thought it was a great discussion. Halo, free to play. It's pretty big. So, yeah, with that, we're going to answer some questions. So, we got one from Chen Minkun. What's up with the Xbox Summer Sale this year? Is it not happening? That's right, Jez. Usually the Summer Sale for Xbox happens by now. There isn't... There isn't one. So, any idea? Maybe that's pushed to August, perhaps?
Yeah, it could also be just logistics. Maybe they haven't been able to lock down any deals or something. It's hard to say. Like, I don't actually know the mechanics of how they do the sales. Does Microsoft take the hit on that? Do they have to get approval from the developers before they put something in sale because it affects their content and stuff? I literally have no idea. So maybe it's just a case of like, nobody's made the effort to sort it out because of coronavirus. Like everything's weird this year, So I don't know. I don't know where it is. I haven't heard anything specific about it.
Yeah, Zeke keeps on saying Halo Lens. Do you mean HoloLens?
In the Halo Infinite trailer, there was a HoloLens at the start of it. Did you notice?
I did not notice that. No.
Yeah, when they were building the Master Chief suit, the Mjolnir armor. Don't know if I pronounced that right. The scientist who was building it was wearing HoloLens.
Interesting.
So every Microsoft fanboy noticed that, but Rand.
I don't care about it. HoloLens is not something Xbox is doing. I told you before. I don't give a I do not care about anything Microsoft does. I only care about Xbox. So
why don't you care about HoloLens?
Because HoloLens has nothing to do with Xbox. So why would I care about it?
Because it's cool, man.
You
can play Conquer on it.
Don't care. Joe Sinister says the same Era insider who gave all the info on Avowed also said that In Exile will be one of Xbox's biggest devs, and they're looking into a large-scale AAA project. Have you guys heard anything?
I know they are making a AAA game. I don't know what it is. I don't know anything about what it could represent, the content and stuff like that. I do know that, like Avowed, In Exile had one big concept that was its main hook for Microsoft to buy them. And Brian Fargo is obviously a legend and a genius, and pretty much any game he makes, I will play. So I think In Exile could be definitely one to watch, but it's all about when we're going to see that stuff, when's it going to be ready. These things take time. It's like all the people who said, Microsoft only makes AA games are now complaining that Microsoft's taking like 3 or 4 years to make games and stuff. It's like, that's what happens. If you want to have AAA games, they take time. And yeah, maybe you could argue that Microsoft should have invested sooner, but at the same time, it's just the way it is. Like, hindsight's 2020, right? And
yeah.
Aaron Meison's gone, Don Matrix gone, Phil's promoted, all the positions are in play now. So you just have to be patient, I guess.
They're making, from my understanding, they're making a AAA RPG. The studio is getting bigger, but don't expect to hear anything about that project for quite some time.
Yeah.
Like that game is far away. It hasn't really even started yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like Avowed, it was set in the Bard's Tale universe. Very well could be.
Very well could be. Caloric says, "Did you see the Halo scene made in Dreams? If you did, what you think?" I have not. I mean, I heard that somebody made Halo in Dreams, but I have not seen it yet. Hey, Brian says, "Hey, you guys killed another amazing show. Thank you." Empire Zergi says, "Question for Jez: what's the best tablet for XCloud?" It's almost like Jez should make an article about the best tablet for XCloud. Maybe when it gets closer to release, huh?
Maybe I already have an article.
Oh, maybe you do. So what is the best tablet for XCloud for people that want to play streaming on it?
You should go, first of all, you should Google best tablet for xCloud and then hit the link to Windows Central because there's way more details there. But honestly, the Android tablet market is terrible. It's absolutely awful. There's really not many options out there. However, this week, or next week rather, is the Samsung Unpacked event. So with any luck, they'll announce some more bloody tablets. So we can actually have some more options to consider and stuff like that. But right now, your best option right now is pretty much whatever Samsung has made. So you can go to Samsung's website, and there's a lot of details there about all the different sizes and shapes they do. I personally use an older Samsung tablet. I can't remember what it's called now. I think it's called the Samsung Galaxy Tab A. It's 8-inch. I didn't want a 10-inch tablet because I thought that's too big. So I went for an 8-inch tablet, which is easy to sort of carry around and stuff. But I don't think they actually make those anymore. So you pretty much your best option is one of their 10-inch tablets and stuff, which is arguably better for xCloud anyway because it got bigger screen and stuff like that. But I would wait for Samsung Unpacked, which is coming soon, where they're going to announce the new Galaxy phone and stuff like that, and Galaxy tablets. They will probably have something cool to announce there. So
yeah,
wait and see.
Sin Vendetta says, Jez, I have a fun little surprise coming hopefully next week for you, so stay tuned. I wonder what it could be. Surprise from Sin Vendetta. And Jacob Tech Robe, sorry if I said your name wrong, buddy. I forget the interview, but Phil said Game Pass was already profitable and that they had no intentions of raising the price. Could you look into it and maybe do a piece on it? Sure. I mean, I recall what you're talking about. And obviously, when I talk about them raising the price, I'm not talking about anytime soon. I'm talking years from now, 4 or 5 years from now when they have 30 million subscribers or something. Not anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They also adjust the price for inflation a lot. So, for example, we've got a service in the UK called Now TV, which is god awful, but it's the only place where I can watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Very worse. But it's they sent me an email today saying they're putting the price up by £1 to a year, and I'm like, well, GG. But
GG.
It's GG Blizzard.
And thank you for Jacob for becoming the newest member of the channel. I really appreciate the support, buddy. Evan wants to know, Forza Horizon 4 or Crew 2? Forza Horizon 4 is amazing. Crew 2 is okay, but it basically just wants to be Forza, and it's not as good. FXG Spartan says, what do you mean Halo free-to-play? To all or to Game Pass players? To everybody. Everybody that... imagine it like Warzone. Right now, you download Call of Duty, and Warzone's free, and if you want to play the regular multiplayer or the single player, you got to pay for it. Think about it like that. I would imagine it'd be the same structure. You download the game, the multiplayer would be free to everybody, and if you want to play the campaign, you can either buy it, or if you are a Game Pass member, you can just play it. And if you're a Game Pass member, there'll be perks for the multiplayer. Maybe faster Game Pass progression, maybe the faster Battle Pass progression, maybe some other things. But think of it like that. Let's see here. Rogero says, do you believe that PlayStation 5 and Series X are tackling different markets? Sony is going for 100% new gen, and Microsoft looks to be betting all on the games as a service model. Will we have real competition? Of course you have real competition. I mean, PlayStation is just kind of doing the model that's always worked for them, the traditional one, and Microsoft is doing something a little bit different, where it's more as they want their things everywhere as possible, and that's how they think they're going to change the industry, maybe that's not a good way of saying it, but that's how they feel is best for them. And that's where you have competition, because if it does work for Microsoft, Sony's going to notice it, and you already see Sony putting their games on PC. There's a reason why. You don't think Sony's looking at the Steam charts right now and see the easy money that Microsoft's making by literally just putting their games on Steam? I mean, there's a reason why Horizon Zero Dawn's coming to PC and Death Stranding and other PlayStation games eventually. There's a reason why Sony started putting their exclusives in PlayStation Now. Granted, limited time for a couple months, But that's where these things, the battle gets in there. Xbox will make big AAA games. They'll make platform games. They'll make small games. Sony will do what they do best, and it's just going to be a battle between them. They'll force each other to get better. I mean, that's what it's all about, essentially.
This isn't Horizon Zero Dawn isn't an experiment. It's not an exception. It's gonna be the rule down the line. And I'm actually gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. I'm gonna maybe give my thoughts on that next week because I haven't played it. And I really do like the look of it. It's cool that I can play it without having a PlayStation because I don't have one right now.
Yeah, East Coast says, where was the global publishing team in the June show? Sony may get Final Fantasy from third party. What will Xbox have? Well, I said there might be 1 or 2 games from global publishing. In my preview video, there was one, which was Ask Dusk Falls. I think they have a few more they haven't announced yet, which we'll announce over the course of time. Square Enix is really buddy-buddy with Sony. Final Fantasy is obviously a franchise that's going to sell the vast, vast majority on PlayStation. So yeah, they probably will get that game time exclusive. What will Xbox have? I don't know. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Maybe they got something. Maybe they didn't. I know they made some deals for some smaller games, just like PlayStation did. But I don't know if you can expect Microsoft to. I mean, you look at it like this. Like Microsoft is probably more about spending money to get games in Game Pass rather than get them completely exclusive to the platform, or spending money to get games in XCloud, which is important for them. Not necessarily like, hey, for 1 year we'll get this game, because like those Bethesda games and Final Fantasy, those are expensive, So think of it like that. Microsoft more spending money for Game Pass. You agree with me on that one, Jez?
Yeah, totally. It's also like studios that can provide value for money. Really, I think you can pay like $1 bajillion, get Final Fantasy exclusive on your console, but is that really going to push Game Pass? Is that really going to drive people to your platform over PlayStation? It's those sorts of considerations, Or it's like, do you deliver for your fans and people who are already invested in your ecosystem to keep them in your ecosystem, and then maybe they'll just organically get their friends to switch because you can only play Grounded. Grounded is like every major Twitch streamer is playing Grounded right now, and the only place you can play Grounded is on Xbox or PC, and the cheapest way to do so is on Game Pass. Like that is the perfect example of a game Microsoft wants to have on its platform. It doesn't care about Metacritic. It doesn't care about game reviewers and what they're moaning about and stuff like that. It's about, can a game deliver value for Game Pass and at a rate that is makes sense.
Yeah.
So you see Final Fantasy 16 on Metacritic getting all the nice scores for PlayStation, but you'll see Grounded topping the charts on Twitch for weeks to come.
I mean, Final Fantasy is also going to sell big. I mean, Remake is like one of the best-selling games of the year, though. So,
but it's like at the same time, it's like it's not driving.
Well, I also think like the cost to get Final Fantasy for Xbox would be exponentially higher than it would be for Sony, right? Would you agree with me on that? Like, if Microsoft was like, we want Final Fantasy 16, Square would have a heart attack and be like, okay, how about $1 billion? Because like Final Fantasy sells on Xbox, but it doesn't sell that much, so it'd be like, okay, but when Sony asks, it's obviously going to be cheaper because that's where the vast majority of those games sell anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
Evan says, "What's your favorite racing game?" Forza Horizon 3 is probably my favorite. Irvin says, "Thought they had a partnership with Bang & Olufsen." I'm assuming referring to your thing about a headset that you leaked, Jez.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, they're making. I think that. Whatever headset they're making is probably with Bang & Olufsen. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, Alex Sawyer says, have you heard any rumors on Microsoft trying to purchase the devs behind Escape from Tarkov? I have not.
No, that is interesting because I have actually.
Ooh, you have. Interesting.
I've been messaged a couple of times about that. Escape from Tarkov is another. See, this is another example of a game that would be really good for Game Pass. People stream it. You can learn about Game Pass through it, and then you can play it through Game Pass. You can have Game Pass perks through it. It's another one of those service games. It's ideal for Game Pass. So while I haven't heard anything concrete, I have sort of heard industry rumors that could be a thing that could happen. But it's another one of them wait and see kind of deals because I don't have any concrete infos about that one yet.
Someone is saying in chat, Nake and Jay says that Lockhart just leaked.
Oh
And
my
it's
god.
Series Y.
Series Y?
Yeah, do you see anything? I don't see anything on. If you put it in chat where you think it leaked, because I do not see anything on Twitter yet about anything about this.
Series Y. That makes sense that it'd be called the series.
I mean, the fact that they're still doing the 1S kind of almost kind of implies that, at least in my mind, that the Lockhart won't be called the Series S. But I don't see anything here talking about Lockhart. So, yeah, maybe someone's just trolling us. I'm not seeing it either. So, let's see. Stodgy wants to know, why do you prefer Horizon 3 over Horizon 4? Just the world? I don't know. Like, I think Forza Horizon 4 is too much like Forza Horizon 3. And Forza Horizon 3 was kind of like, oh my god, this is amazing. And Australia was really cool. And then Forza Horizon 4 was roughly the same thing with seasons. And I think I preferred Australia more and the expansions more, like Blizzard Mountain and Hot Wheels, rather than Lego Island and whatever the other expansion was for Forza Horizon 4. I just think Forza Horizon 3 is the better game. So yeah, I don't see anything about Lockhart, so I'm assuming it's just we're getting trolled here. So let's see. That's like it. I think that's the last question. We appreciate everyone being here for the show. 1900 is a lot. If you guys could do us a favor, hit the like button, the subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you want to be notified whenever this podcast goes live or whenever I drop new videos, as I try to do videos pretty often. Make sure you follow me and Jez on Twitter. It's right there on the screen, @JezCorden. Right, yours is @JezCorden, right? Yeah, @JezCorden. Mine is @RandallThor19, but spaces, the information's in the description. Thank you guys for a great show, all the support, and we will see you next week. You got anything to say to everybody before we go, Jez?
Be nice, hugs and kisses, and watch out for spiders.
Yeah, so have a great weekend, and we'll be back next week for another Xbox 2, and who knows what will be announced. It's kind of crazy, all these announcements happening, so keep it gaming, everyone, and we'll see you next week.